Hey, welcome to episode 6 of BNF. We have Francis Mejia here. Francis, dude, do you want to go ahead and give context on how we know each other? I think I was so young. You
Yeah.
have the story down.
All right. I was really close friends growing up with Brett's brother, Aiden. We played travel baseball together, little league baseball together from what, 8, 9 years old until 12 years old. So like 4 years really. And then still knew of our families and everything throughout high school and stuff. And Brett was always the little brother that um, hung out with the big boys, and he always knew how to hang. We sleepovers, sleepless nights of just playing Call of Duty, the Professor Clan on Xbox 360. I mean, it goes years back, man. And
Dude,
no, I'm blessed. I'm glad you had me on, bro. Seriously, I've always kind of enjoyed watching you grow, from the Instagram posts and the Instagram rants. It's like you've always been years ahead of like in wisdom, and I've always noticed that. You've never been scared to be yourself, and that's something that I've always gravitated to because I've always been like that. So I mean, yeah, we go way back, man, and it's so crazy to be sitting here talking to you for real. It's
oh,
awesome.
dude, likewise, man. And
Yeah.
thank you for keeping up with everything that I've kind of been up to. I know we haven't talked or really like sat down, chopped it up,
Yeah.
or even seen each other, but I think you've really, you've kept enough contact with me to where I was like, okay, Francis is someone. If I need an opinion, like I can reach out
100%.
and we can go back and forth. And that's really when you texted me the video of you training and you were just
Mm,
like I'm back on the runs, dude.
mm,
Like, and we got to talk about that. I was like, okay, like
yep.
I'm in the right place because Francis is also in the right
Yes,
place. So
sir.
it's like, and that's
That's
how
the
it felt.
beauty. It's beauty of social media, for real.
Yeah, dude. See, that's what I wanted to like kind of start with is on this last podcast I did, I was talking with my buddy K Shav and we were talking about social media, the negative impacts, but our connection is very like a prime example of why social
Mm,
media is actually very beneficial. And there
mm,
might be a lot of nonsense that surrounds social media, but at the end of the day, if you use it for the purpose that it was made for,
yep.
that it's just so, I don't know, it's so positive. Like we wouldn't be
Uh,
having this conversation without it.
exactly.
Genuinely. Genuinely.
Exactly.
So
And it's always helped. It's always helped me like plant seeds in a way, like with communication. Like if you look at our chats on Instagram, bro, they go back to like the early 20, like mid 2010s, and on, maybe when I was in high school around that time, and of just little messages here and there, man. Hey, keep doing your thing. Whether it's me to you or you to me, just like, hey, man, keep doing your thing. Hope everything's good. And it's like you're able to just plant those little seeds and drop those messages because a lot of times, bro, if you don't say something to somebody, they'll never think it. You know what I mean? And the way my mind works, I'm really big on that. And so if I'm sitting there scrolling on my feed and I see a post, let me tap in, check in. Just all it takes is a couple messages. It doesn't have to always be a conversation or a phone call or, you know what I mean? And
right.
if you look at our chat logs, you'll see a lot of that, whether it's you dropping in saying what's up. And I never did that with Aiden. And that's no knock to me and Aiden's relationship. I got some of the best memories with Aiden. Aiden in my book is die hard OG. I always look back so much love, you know. But me and you, we weren't necessarily like that. You were always by association with Aiden. And if you look at our chat logs, there's those little seeds, man, that were planted for 10 plus years. And now look, in adulthood or whatever you want to call it, we're here. So
Definitely.
I mean, that's a prime example right there.
It's crazy, dude. Yeah, and
Mm,
things have definitely changed like so much.
yeah.
But just knowing that this connection was like always here is like, I don't know,
Mm,
dude, it's powerful feeling.
mm,
And I will say like the video you sent me is just for context, Francis sent me a video and he was just like, hey, it's literally after a long run, you're like spitting on the floor. You're just like, I got my ass kicked, dude. Like that shit motivates me, dude. I feel like
uh,
without that, without those types of
mm,
connections, conversations, like there is, I don't know, dude. I don't even know how to articulate it, but there is no purpose greater than that. I
Mm.
think, like pushing yourself and finding motivation in others who are
Uh,
also pushing themselves. It's a beautiful thing, man.
yeah.
So, and I think that that genuinely connects like pretty heavily to your background and obviously
Mm.
everything with what you did in baseball and
Mm.
maybe talk about your education. We got to talk about that briefly before, but talk about that and kind of what motivated you to go in the direction you went in.
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's in psychology. I got a concentration in alcohol and drug counseling. I did like over 200 hours in a like recovery cafe, just talking with people who deal with, addiction to whether it's, heroin, anything, and it was more of a like a community type setting, so it was a lot of group circles, a lot of group activities, stuff like that. I had to do it throughout my entire senior year. So senior year in the fall, it was the year after COVID, the senior year in the fall and then senior spring. And no, man, it was cool. I had a great 5 years. It was I learned a lot actually. I can look back on college and say more good things than bad things. Obviously, you deal with things growing up away from your parents. I went to a school called Midway University in Midway, Kentucky, which is like halfway through Frankfort and Lexington. So it's like maybe 15 minutes away from University of Kentucky. So
Right.
I was kind of near a big city in Lexington, but it was really small town. Like I'm talking one stoplight, and then you go into other little farm towns. Kentucky's like a
Wow.
trip the way it's built. Like the majority big cities are like Louisville and Lexington. And then you have like Bowling Green and a couple of other like cities that are big, but like the ones with real downtowns and like real nightlife are Lexington and Louisville, really. Um, but yeah, no, just definitely found a calling, I would say, in psychology, man. Something that could lead me to not just working normal job that is just labor based or skill based, something that can
Right.
definitely make me critically think and feel like I'm contributing to something bigger than myself. And it's going to involve sports, which is literally the pillar of my personality and existence. Like without sports and without baseball, I can't sit here and even what if and think about who I am. So,
Right. Right, dude. And you said you have more good things to say than bad things with
mm,
kind of that scholastic journey in college and stuff. My boss, he was in Phoenix last night and he told me, he sat down, he's like, Brett, let me ask you something. He goes, when you were in college and you've complete a semester, do you tell stories about the shitty classes, or do
mm,
you tell stories about the good times, the good
mm,
courses,
yep,
and the easy ones? And I was
mm,
like, genuinely, like the easy ones rarely come up. I was
yeah,
like, and even the nights where you get all your work done at like
mm,
3 p.m. and you have nothing to do all night except for go to the gym or whatever. Those nights never
mm,
come up. It's always the
mm,
nights where you pull an all nighter, you
mm,
get all your work done and you're just like stressed out of your mind. It's the
yep,
classes where you have to like fucking literally grind your
uh,
ass off to like complete the course or
mm,
complete a module, whatever. Yeah, I just thought it was such an interesting thing. And he closed out like his statement. He's like, remember the things in your life that made you a man.
uh,
And it was just such a dude, such a powerful thing. So like,
mm,
was there anything along that journey and that path that you can like look back on and be like, this sculpted me to be a man?
brother. Oh, what a question, my man. I can tell you right now, it more so has to deal with baseball than school.
Right.
I did school wise, my senior paper was a grind. I learned a lot as far as just what just the structure of writing a college paper, like the way it's supposed to be, and not even writing a college paper, just writing a paper that is gonna deliver information in the best way. You know what I mean? That's what really kicked my ass as far as school was really just that last semester, that last senior research paper. I wrote it on a role exit theory, which is basically just what an athlete goes through when he's forcibly removed from his sport. So like he
Mhm.
basically loses his identity in sport, whether it's because of injury, just being cut or whatever. Just anything that removes him from playing whatever sport that they play. Um, which funny thing is, I was directly essentially dealing with that. So the hardest thing I went through in those years is 100% my wrist injury. So I broke my wrist fall of the COVID year. Broke my wrist in a fall scrimmage. I was swinging. I got jammed on a fastball up and in, and instead of taking it, it was like kind of cutting in, and so it started kind of in the zone, and I started my swing, and then it just cut right into me, and I like went to, got kind of handcuffed, and
Yeah.
broke a bone in my wrist, and pretty much knew I was done after that. But the big thing was I was still a senior fighting for a spot because I've always been, you know this, I've always been a skinnier kid, smaller kid, kind of undersized. Maybe not in length. I've always been like kind of lanky, 5'11", 6 foot. But size wise, especially on the baseball field, I wasn't competing with the big power hitters. That wasn't ever my game. So staying in the lineup, defense was never a problem, but power and consistently hitting for power was a problem, because if you can have a guy who can put the ball over the wall for you in big scenarios, you're not going to want that scrappy guy who's poking balls into the gap. You know what I mean? So I always had to do a lot more to kind of stay up with everybody else. And so that led to me always having pressure. And whether or not it was me putting that pressure on myself, I was always fighting for a spot even up to my senior year. So immediately, as soon as I knew something was wrong with my wrist, man, it just sent me to 100% the darkest time in my life. So I ended up having to get surgery. So I was out, used my red shirt. So I wasn't going to play that season. Obviously COVID ended up happening anyway, but, that same year I also wasn't on campus anymore. So I was off campus. And it was also a time where my parents, were kind of struggling with finances and stuff. So, I wasn't in a position to be using mom and dad's money to basically survive. So I had to get a job. So it all hit at once. So in a matter of, a month and a half, I went from college baseball player focused on school and baseball and competing and lifting and working out, devoting my life to that as if I was a professional athlete, to working at Papa John's, living on my own, paying my own rent, um, having to work a ton more hours because I no longer can practice because I got a cast on my hand, and I've officially redshirted. So traveling to school in a beat up '92 Toyota Camry, no hubcaps, I had two busted door handles. I mean, it was just grinding, literally just delivering pizzas in downtown Lexington to all the frat houses, the sororities, all the apartments, everything in a college town. And man, it was bad. That was also a time where, substances became an issue, because it was just, obviously in college you drink, and you have your fun. And in the beginning it was fun up until this time in my senior year, or in my first senior year technically, leading up to COVID, because sometimes life hits you, man. You don't really know how to cope. And I've always been able to deal with the failures of the game. I've never really dealt with real life adversity up to that point. If I had, I always had my parents real close to kind of steer me in the right direction. But here I am by myself in a town that is predominantly white, that I deal with racism, and an assistant coach who I feel like is out to get me and is looking for any chance to not play me, all this stuff. And it kind of just collapsed on me. And so I started drinking a bunch, and I started smoking, and it just became a kind of a slippery, like, it's just a tough, rough time. And yeah, so where in most cases, the Francis who I thought I was would have stayed in the gym. If I can only use one hand, I'm using one hand, swinging with one hand,
Right.
doing whatever I can do. Wasn't that guy. He was letting this moment literally bring him down. And then on top of that, right when I feel like I'm coming out of it, boom, I get cleared. You can start swings at 50%, blah, blah, blah. I've now been in a cycle where is that Francis? Like, he's been gone. So where is he? How do we get back to that? It wasn't this thing I kept telling myself was, oh, it'll just be a flip that switches. Once this event happens, then I'll be that guy that just gets right back to it like he always has. And that didn't happen. And not to mention the world shut down. So boom, COVID hits. I don't want to get trapped in the South, so I pack up my bags. School's all online at that point, and I drive to Florida. Well, everything's shut down, so there's no batting cages. Yeah, there's parks, but most public parks chained up. You know, you got to hop in and go do stuff if you want to get work in. Tons of external excuses I also created for myself, but were also very real because again, COVID happened, man. You know how that was. That was a whirlwind in itself. And another thing that happened around that same time was my dad got cancer for the 4th time. So my dad's dealt with colon cancer. You know my pops. He's a legend.
Oh, dude, he's incredible. I have like so many memories, dude.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And with your sister too, but we'll touch on that.
For sure. Yeah. But my dad gets colon cancer. He's had it 4 times. He's a OG, super inspiring in my life. But so he's dealing with that, which honestly didn't hinder him. I mean, this guy was still ready to go and help me out however best he could physically, So all that happened, man, and I took a big hit, like bouncing back to baseball. Like you create your motor skills. You swing a bat for so many years. So your body is just so used to swinging a bat a certain way. And then when you like are consistently swinging a bat for so many years and then you almost just take this massive hit, like feeling comfortable again is way harder than you think. And that was a new thing for me. Again, you're so caught up in, well, I had in more than almost 2 decades, I had not, maybe like 15, 16 years, I had not swing a bat for more than a week. You know what I mean? It was baseball every day. It was a consistent thing in my life. So when it became, so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'll be able to bounce right back. When that wasn't the case, took a hard hit. My skills took a hard hit. My velocity from the outfield took a hard hit. My speed took a hard hit, which was one of a big tool that helped me. My ability to track balls in the outfield and stuff like that. And so that summer, every summer throughout my college career, I was bouncing back to Arizona because I had trainers there. So that's how I was getting better, was taking a flight out to Arizona, stay with one of my boys. And for those 3 months, I was grinding 5 days a week, literally 2 days, morning speed training, afternoon, skill training. And I was doing that. But during COVID, I couldn't do that. 1, I couldn't stay with my buddy where it was most cost efficient. And 2, my trainer was also on shutdown. So, skills took a hit. So basically what that meant was I was going to have to go into the fall for my true senior year with no red shirts left and try to make the most of it. And I mean, it just, talk about adversity, bro. I mean, you're at a point where you feel like, yeah, you're not a big leaguer because you're over here playing NAIA baseball in Kentucky, but you feel like you can maybe go play semi-pro somewhere or continue to play the game at a high level, because I had never dealt with any other injuries besides that. And so you go from that to, well, now I just got to make the most of this senior year and try to go out on my terms or how I want to go. And that's such a tough thing to deal with, especially when your identity is wrapped up in baseball more than you ever thought.
Right.
Like you knew it was, and you knew it made you who you were in a lot of ways, but you didn't realize how much it was wrapped up in a lot of negative things. Because having your identity attached to something that you love sounds good, but things expire. You know what I mean? Things change. And who are you outside of that when that thing is taken away? Baseball is not forever. Everybody hangs them up. That's one best thing my dad told me, which you hear it all the time. Everybody hangs them up. Some hang them up sooner than others. And so you don't think about that. Right. And it changes you, man. It really does. And it's something that takes time to deal with. Like I'm past it, and I don't even like describing it as past it. I'm at a place where I'm grateful for it, because it lets you look at life differently from that point on once you fully grasp it, because you just learn to look back on it the right way, and you look back at the times with the teammates. You look back at the nights where you were sitting there grinding early, dripping, or grinding late, dripping in sweat in the batting cages. You look at it when it was in the wintertime and you're sitting out in the outdoor cages with a heater because it's freaking 30 degrees and you're sitting there grinding, trying to figure it out and trying to just survive essentially because you're not moving the way you used to and you don't have your
Right.
hitting coach there with you and you're just a hitter that you never worked. Brett, in my entire life, one thing in baseball that has never ever been an issue for me is hitting.
Right.
I've raked everywhere I've ever played, bro. Everywhere. I've always been the skinniest guy to hit the ball the hardest. That's always been my identity, man. I've been
Right.
able to slap the ball around. I don't care who you were in front of me. I don't care if you were big leaguer. I never feared having the bat in my hand. And that changed. I became a guy who's capping balls, striking out, leading the top 3 in strikeouts, things I never did. What was always the hardest out? Whether or not maybe it wasn't going to make hard contact all the time, but it was going to be hard to strike me out. I was putting the ball in play, you know?
Right.
And yeah, that changed. That shit
That,
changed and yeah, man, it was a trip. It took some time. It was part of the reason why I took some time off after school and really had to find my identity and who I was and what I wanted to do.
right.
And luckily I'm there now, but you talk about the hard times and what you think about when you look back at college, man, and I can't help but think about that. It's the whole reason why I know what I want to do with my life. It's the whole reason why I look at life differently and why the lows aren't so low and really are just a chance to adapt and learn. And I'm so blessed and so thankful for it. Sometimes I sit here to this day and still battle with what do I wish it would have gone differently. And it's like sometimes I'm like, maybe not because I learned so much in what I went through. But then some days I'm like, man, that would have been nice to maybe not go through that and finish, not on top, but finish in a good position
Right.
in my senior year and maybe still be playing ball and feel good about myself physically, but it's tough, man. It's trials that life brings on, like I was telling you earlier, life's going to throw you curveballs. It's going to throw you 0-2 curveballs. It's going to throw you
Right.
changeups on the outer half. It's going to carve you. What are you going to do? You're going to get another AB. That's the beautiful thing about life. You're going to get another at bat. You
Right.
always will. The sun's going to rise again and you're going to have another chance to hit a ball in the gap, to turn on a ball down the line, slap a ball up the middle. What are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a key mindset right there.
Yeah.
I love Russ. Russ is like one of my favorite
Yes,
artists.
sir.
I know you listen to
Same.
Russ, and he has a book. Yeah, he has 2 books. I've
I've
referenced
read the
them.
first one. I haven't read the second one.
Okay, the second one, I want to say what I'm about to reference is in the second one.
Okay.
But in the second book, he talks about waves, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, he literally says he has a song called Waves too.
Yes,
But
sir.
in the book, he explains it way more, and he basically says, everyone's so worried about catching the next wave, or when they're on top of the wave, they're worried about when it's going to crash. When there's no wave, they're worried about when the next wave's going to come. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, the key is to realize that a wave will always come, a wave will always
Mm-hmm.
crash, but guess what? Like, they're going to keep coming because that's just what
Mm-hmm.
waves do. That's just
Mm-hmm.
what waves do, and I think it's so easy to just sit back, be
Babe, you
nervous
might have to
about.
turn off that light. Turn on that light for me. Sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, brother. Just want
No,
light in here. There
you're
you go.
perfect. But I think it's so easy to just stress about what's gonna go wrong next, what's gonna come my way, and
Mm-hmm.
at times, like, a way to take away stress is just realizing, like, look, like, I just have to be one with the ocean. Like, there's gonna be waves
Mm-hmm.
that come my way. I'm gonna crash. It's gonna be, but at the end of the day, like, something else is gonna come. And
Mm-hmm.
you talk about scrappiness, and that is what I remember dramatically. Like, growing up, I just remember you, like, always hustling harder than anyone else who
Yes,
was out
sir.
there.
I
And
appreciate you remember
of course,
that.
of course, dude. And it was very inspiring. And I my baseball experience in high school was way different, even middle school, and just growing up, like, I was always a bigger dude who couldn't hit the ball far, which is like as a big guy, that's what you have to do. You have to hit the
Yeah.
ball far.
Come
But
on.
dude, I swear I was just blooper over the shortstop, single, like, literally I probably hit like 700 in
Uh,
middle school. Like,
uh, just
just because
hitting
I was
bloops
just
over the
blooper, yeah,
infield.
bloopers over. I was always the slowest guy, just like running. But you do talk about scrappiness, and I, dude, I want to say that's like one of the most important traits to have, because even when I was a big dude, like hitting bloopers over second baseman, at the end of the day, mentally, I was just like, I'm not striking out here. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna put the ball in play, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I felt in the my school, my
Uh-huh.
work now. I was just like, this might not be the best, but it's gonna be something.
Uh-huh.
This is the
I,
type
I
of person that I am.
I
You
love
know,
that point, man. And that's the beauty about sports in general, which is why I tell you it literally makes me who I am. It's because it directly translates to life. And obviously I'm biased, but I believe that no sport translates more than baseball. Maybe fighting, because that's just you're actually physically, there's will involved, but like baseball, man, because you fail so much. You've heard that saying of you could fail 7 out of 10 times in baseball and still be a Hall of Famer. It's like there's so much failure in baseball, and life is full of failures. That's the big thing. And so that right there is why I love sports and owe so much to it, because you're able to just translate. It's not the mentality isn't just on the field; it's with life too.
right? No, exactly, dude. And you talk about, or we've talked about in the past, like finding that edge and like keeping that edge. And when it came to that transition out of baseball, what was training like? What was finding yourself like? How did you find the Francis
Dude,
that was in you?
that took years, man. That took years. That took years. I'm talking years of just sitting at home playing Call of Duty, working, helping my parents out. I took pride in that, and that was great. But like, finding something that gave me that feeling, of getting things done. It's like some of the most rewarding feelings while I was playing was getting those 2 days done, and getting that last sprint done or that last set done. And like that's some of the best feelings, because you feel like the way if the way it affects the way you move the rest of your day is crazy, because I don't know what the mindset is called. I don't know what the ideology is called, but like the way when you aren't doing shit and are getting nothing done, it's so much easy. It's way easier to be sad and depressed than when you're accomplishing things, whether it's these micro, like little accomplishments throughout the day, So it's like that's the biggest thing post baseball is what are you doing? Like,
Right,
well, what are you getting done? Well, can you sit back at the end of the day and enjoy that milkshake or whatever, or enjoy that beer and sit back and kick it on Call of Duty and enjoy those times with your buddies? Can you sit back at the end of the day while you're doing that and be like, hey, I got something done? You know what I mean? My dad always
right.
says something funny. He says it all the time. It's so great. He said, he always asks me, what'd you do to change the world today? Like, what did you do? It's so funny. And we all make fun of him for it, because my dad's always clowning. There's always like that comical undertone, like in everything he says. But like he's
Yeah,
genuinely asking. He's like, how did you wake up and affect the world today? How did you wake up and change the world? And
right,
it's true. There's a realness to it. Obviously, it's funny because it's coming from my dad, but um, that was the biggest thing. That was the hardest thing. And I would say I'm still working on that in ways, for sure. Definitely not as bad as it was post college, but you just try to find things that are gonna contribute to you being a better person, I guess. And like in video games where you want to bump up your attributes, you know what I mean? Like
right.
you're creating a player and you're trying to
Yeah,
make his shot better or whatever. You're trying to make him a 99 overall. It's like it's kind of that
right,
was the toughest thing, like post baseball, is figuring out what does that look like now. If it's not directly going and training, because I can tell you what, training hard those years during college, uh, once you don't have that and you don't have that pushing you, it's so easy to get caught in that loop, which I described to you when I sent you that video. It's just like it's so easy, it's so hard to kind of find your why in that way, and it's so easy to get caught up and just like go down a rabbit hole and of doing nothing. And
right,
and you're also just tired because dude, 2 days for especially dude, I didn't start growing into my body, especially sophomore year was when I really started training, where I was hitting uh team workouts in the afternoon, and I had there was an older dude at my university who was like he was an Army Ranger. He did his 5 years. He was like almost 30, and he was my teammate. He just missed baseball, so he wanted to go back, and he was still playing at like 28, 29. He was
Wow.
massive. Dude was
Yeah.
massive. And I got with him working out, and I went from 140 soaking wet going into my sophomore year, just slapping balls around the park, to I finished when I was at my peak. I was probably 175, 180,
Wow.
legitimate, like good. And I'm talking in BP, cranking balls, hitting balls over the fence in BP. That's something I had never done, you know.
Right.
And it was those morning 6 a.m. sessions with him, pulling sleds, holding weights in a wheelbarrow. We were doing that's maxing out sumo deadlift, maxing out box squat. Like he was getting me right. It was his passion. The guy knew what he was talking about.
Right.
And I did that for up until I graduated. And so you think about that, and it's so easy to get lazy, bro, because that stuff takes a toll on you. That is
Definitely.
no joke. Staying in that form and staying there. The minute you get a taste of not having to do all that stuff, whew,
Yeah.
that's
You
a battle in
relapse.
itself. I have no shame in admitting that. That's a battle in itself, bro.
Dude, absolutely. That is a really good point that you make,
Yeah.
because I remember when I was in high school, my sophomore year, I was 260 pounds. I was probably 5'8", 260. And dude, that was like, man, you knew me as a kid, bro. I was always a bigger kid, but
I never saw you in those years though. The physical side I got of you was when you were short and and like short and chubby, and then you had grown into your body. I'd only
right.
seen the two, so I never saw the in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. But yeah, I was 5'8", 260, sophomore year of high school. And I was funny, dude. Like that was how I got around. I was like, I
Uh,
can be funny, I can
mm,
be, conversationalist, and this is something that I'll figure out eventually.
yeah.
And you talk about those micro wins, and that's genuinely what I viewed like conversations as. It was
Mm,
like, okay, if I can talk to women, and if
yeah.
I can, and understand like what to say, or like be that
Mm,
dude who's always showing up, like always there, I'll figure it out. And that was kind
yeah.
of the mentality I had. And then junior year came, and I was just like, it's so funny. I met this guy named, or I met him through Aiden, and his name's Phil. And Phil trained Aiden, and Aiden like went through a crazy weight cut. And I just remember playing Minecraft one day, like I was in my room, sophomore year of high school. It was like the summer coming into my junior year. I was playing Minecraft. I get a call from Aiden at like midnight, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing right now?" And I was like, "I'm playing video games." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Come to the gym." And he's like, "I'll pick you up." And I was like, "No, dude, like I'm just trying to chill, like go to
Uh,
bed." And he still came, picked me up,
yeah.
and we went to the gym, and it just became an everyday thing. And eventually, like I stopped doing it with them. I just started doing it alone, and it, dude, I like they changed my life without a
No.
doubt, without a doubt, because it was,
Mm,
again, it was the micro wins. It was like I can't bear crawl, the length of the gym there and back.
mm,
And the moment I, like 2 weeks after I like did it for the first time, I finally was able to do it once. And then
mm,
all of a sudden, you keep doing it every session,
mm,
you keep getting out there. And I always say, like, for the micro wins, it's like you woke up, okay, like get your coffee, do you,
mm,
but always start with like I'm in sales, I'm in business development, a lot of my
yeah.
work's remote. So I always say, like, start with an easy phone call. Start
Mm,
with an easy one. Like call your mom,
mm,
even. Just call
mm,
family. Just, get something done in that respect, and like
mm,
get your brain warmed up. And that eventually translated to that, or that translated from the gym to work. But I will say I still believe in that. Like I run a lot, and I'm sure you've seen them on the on the
mm.
Instagram and stuff.
Yes,
But
sir.
dude, there's days where literally I don't want to run at
Mm,
all. But I tell myself, I'm like, if I get out there and run 1 mile, I'll probably turn that into two. I hit two, I'll
100%.
probably turn that into three, and
The
just go
hardest part
home.
is starting.
Right,
Yeah, without a
right.
doubt. It becomes cake after that.
Definitely. And I'm
Yeah.
in the camp of progress over perfection any day.
Mm,
And I used to be a perfectionist. I used to be like so hard on myself. Like I
mm,
remember when I first started losing weight, I was like, I didn't lose weight this week. Like
mm,
I'm a piece of shit,
yeah.
and I was very hard on myself. And then I just realized, I was like, if I wake up every day, if I eat correctly, you know, if I still go work out, if I get my run in, if I'm active, if I'm, you know, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it just takes time, you know,
Yeah.
progress over perfection. Progress is the ultimate pursuit in that
Mm-hmm.
respect.
Yep.
Would you
Yeah.
say you're more of a perfectionist in everything that you
I would
were
say no. I'm usually pretty good about because I don't like stress, man. So I try not to push myself into mindsets that I know could just end up blowing up and leading to more stress. You know what I mean? So I would say I've never been like that with baseball. Yeah, with baseball, with my swing in the cages. Yeah, I was a very frustrated player, man. I really was.
right,
And obviously, the older I got, I was. When I was younger, not so much. And it was never because of parent pressure or anything, which I think about that. I look at all Nick is a big example. I look at Nick
right,
and Coach Mike, and that's a dynamic I think about even now. My buddy Garrett, him and his dad, the way he talks about his dad. I've seen uh, parents and their sons more like me and my dad. My dad never put pressure on me. So like you would have those times where you felt like I wasn't working hard enough and would let me know, but as far as in the moment with the frustrations and me trying to be perfect, he was so great. Like the positive reinforcement was so great and everything I needed to hear, but it didn't matter. Like I cared about the game so much, I wanted to be great so bad, and I really just wanted, the biggest thing is I wanted to live up to the work I was putting in. That was the big thing. Is I was putting in so much work. So when it wasn't going my way, there was that frustration. But I don't even know if it's a perfectionist thing. Like
right.
I never really thought about it that way. It was just like, I'm putting in all this work. I got guys I'm competing with who I know aren't working as hard as me and they're starting. It's like, that's a problem. So then it would become frustrations in the cages or hitting off the tee and stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah, and you know, I can obviously like I met your dad, incredible dude, and you know, obviously it has such an impact on your life. And
Mm-hmm.
I think what he asked you, the what did you do to like impact the world today? That question is so powerful. And you know, like what is the impact I guess you want to have on the world? Like what would be one thing that you were just like, I need to provide this, you know, as Francis Mejia?
Oh, that's a tough question, bro. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I think of it more selfishly now in the time in where I'm at in my life, bro. Honestly, like,
Right.
and I don't feel bad about that. I look at it as more as like, um, how do you want to leave how do you want to leave other how do you want others to have, like legacy almost? Does that make sense? Like what
Yeah.
do you want to leave in terms of that? So like as far as your friends' opinions, your family's opinion, and I would say that and I have no shame in saying this. A lot of the time affects how I move in the sense of not that I care about their opinion of what they're saying directly in the moment, but I want to leave behind. I want all the people in my life to look back on me and say he was always moving with a positive mindset. He was always trying to uplift others with him, never
Mm.
trying to always consistently put anybody down. You know what I mean? Those are the kinds
Yeah.
of things I want people to think of me. I don't want people to think I'm cool or anything. Does that make sense? I don't want
Definitely.
you to think that I think about people's opinions in that way because I definitely do not. It's more of like I want them to feel like I left them better than I at least affected them in a way that gave them the opportunity to be better. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So I love musicals, dude. I love musicals.
I'm a
I promise
big
you
musical.
this
Have you seen?
connects.
I'm big on musicals. My girl hates them, and the majority of people I talk to, I'm big on movies in general, but majority of people I talk to definitely don't like them either. Like a lot of my buddies don't either. I love them too. I've seen
Yeah.
both of the Mamma Mia's. I've seen it. Have you seen In the Heights?
I've seen the movie, never like
Okay,
listened to the soundtrack or the
okay.
play or whatever. But
But yeah,
there
I'm big on musicals too.
yeah, I
They're dope.
love musicals, dude. I
Yeah.
they're so I actually recently saw Hamilton in New York
Okay,
on
nice.
Broadway.
That's
And
Lin-Manuel, right?
yeah,
Yeah, he's
Lin-Manuel.
great.
And there's a there's a song, dude, where they're like, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. And you know, with what you're saying and how you want your, you know, homies and your friends to view you, or like, you know, I guess carry that legacy that, you know, like he was a positive motherfucker, he
Mm,
brought us up, you know,
mm,
all that stuff I think is so important. And there's a theme in Hamilton, it was like, or a quote really, where one of the characters, they're talking about Hamilton and they're like, he was never giving credit for the, or yeah, he was never giving credit for the credit he gave us. And, it's a similar concept of like, do you think that that was Hamilton's intention of like
Yeah.
his way of life? It may have been, he
Mm-hmm.
may have been like, I'm going to give these people credit, but,
Mm-hmm.
like at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it's a combat with kind of intentionality. I
No.
think it's just like good principle
Yeah.
to live that way of just like I'm gonna be that motherfucker that people can look at and like find joy in
100%. And it is me. It comes from a place that is me, truly. Like it's what makes me happy. It's what I have what I take pride in, honestly. Like
right,
when people do tell me those things, like I get that a lot from my close friends, and it means the world because that is my intention and how I want to move. It's not necessarily motivated by them, but it's great to have that reinforcement. It's great to. Uh, I would say it's more inspired from my pops. Like my dad is 100% the 100% source of why I want to move the way I move. And why
right.
why I want to leave that sort of, I guess, legacy is the best word I can think of, is because, dude, my dad has every reason in his story. My dad has a beautiful story. You want to talk about a story, man? My dad's story it's amazing. But he's the reason why I moved the way I moved. A guy who has every reason to be cruel to this world, every reason to be negative, to wake up and shit on this world because all the times he's been like shit on, you know what I mean? And still chooses to move every day with love, um, positive energy, and the idea that this day is going to be what I make it.
Mm,
Like anything can happen. This day is my day and it's going to go how I want it to go, regardless of all the negative shit that gets thrown my way. And my dad is so good at that, man, which is why, again, so many people have spoken highly of my pops. And
right.
it's that is thinking of that question. And you asked me that question, reinforcing that question. Like, how do I want to leave the world? I want to leave it exactly how my dad strives to leave it, honest to God. And I don't know what essentially that looks like, but I am doing Francis's version of that, but that's how I want, bro. Honestly, and
Right.
that's how I hope to move at 40, at 45, at 50, at 60 on my deathbed. I want to move like that motherfucker because he's a fucking superhero, bro. And I could talk about that man all day. Honest to God, he's the reason why I don't deal with depression the way I deal with it, which I feel like I deal with it in a healthy way and in the best way I know how. He's the reason why I survived high school because let's be real, we all know high school is something that for the most part you survive and
Yeah.
you try to come out on the other side as unscathed as possible. He's the reason why I was able to be a bilingual brown kid surrounded by middle class white people and move in a way that was true to me, you know?
Right.
So honestly, that would say to answer your question, it's I want to leave the world how that dude right there has left it. He made it easy. He laid out a blueprint for me that from a young age I opened it up and I was like, yeah, this seems pretty damn cool to me. Like
Right.
I'm cool with this. This makes a lot of sense, you know?
Right. Dude, that's I don't know. I just it literally like it makes me feel so like I could cry, dude.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
could because I
yeah.
know the type of person that you are, and I have a stronger understanding of who you are versus obviously your father. But I remember
Yeah.
being a kid, and
Mhm.
just I don't think there was a time your dad was around where I wasn't like either laughing my ass off
Mhm.
or smiling like super big,
Yep.
and it was just such a familial you know relationship is what it
Mhm.
always felt like. And I wasn't a part of your family, and
Yeah.
obviously, and
Uh.
anytime I was around him, he made me feel that way of like,
Mhm.
okay, like this is literally like just sitting down chopping it up, or
Yep.
just being around the presence of someone who's you know a
Yeah,
family
man.
man, and that's
I'm
that's
blessed.
beautiful.
I'm fucking blessed, which is why I think and not to get off top, I'm not trying to get
No.
off topic, but um like the idea of God, like that's something I battle with a lot. Like for the most part, I wouldn't say I necessarily believe in God, but I am well aware of faith and the power it has. And I could say right now, like I don't have a relationship with God, and He doesn't move my life in a certain way. But that's why I have that battle of like, what truly, what do I believe? Because my parents believe in God, and my dad always doesn't push it on me or anything, but he's always like throwing things out there, like, hey, like sit down, talk with them, like, you know, it's a faith is a beautiful thing, man. And my dad owes a lot of the way he moves in his life to God. So it's
Right.
like that's where there's that big, where I always have that big toss up, because here I am looking at this guy like he's Superman, and he says he owes everything to God. So um that's a big thing when it comes to me thinking about God, because I think, man, I know so many people who don't have this relationship with their parents. Their parents failed in so many ways or fell short in so many ways, and that directly affected them from a young age and affected them in how they move in their adult life, and affects how they move in relationships and everything based off that generational trauma passed on, you know? And
Right.
I think I'm so fucking blessed, bro. Like this is how maybe my dad has a point. Like, how is this not a uh something greater? You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't think about that and think it's just oh, I just got lucky, good parents. It's like, dude, it's a fucking superpower that was just handed to me, bro. Like, it really is. I didn't go through those struggling times and mental adversity as a kid growing up that I saw all those people around me going through, especially in our generation, bro, especially your generation. Like, dude, mental health, you know what I mean? How it
Yeah.
derails people, especially in those formative years of 18 to 21, those 3 years, those 18 to 22, those years are huge, bro, you know?
Huge.
And so I think like, I'm blessed, bro, by higher power, by whatever you want to call it, man. It's been handed down to me, and it's made it as easy as it could possibly be.
Right.
Like,
So in my life, I can reference like three hand of God moments, like for
yeah,
sure, like without a doubt.
I got
Because
a couple too. That's funny you say that.
right, like what are yours,
No,
dude?
you
Like,
go ahead. You go ahead. You go
no,
ahead.
that's how I was gonna segue it, dude. I was gonna ask you, but I will. So there was when my grandfather passed away. I remember it was just like it was so sad. So he was a senator in Arizona, state senator,
I met him.
and amazing guy.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, I remember they asked me to like read a passage at his funeral.
Hmm.
And I got up there. I don't remember a single thing. Like I
Yeah, of
really
course
don't.
not.
And like all I remember was getting up there, crying,
Yeah.
and reading it. And of course I delivered, but because it was very important to me, it was like I have to
Yeah.
deliver.
Hmm.
This is his funeral. There's my whole family's here. I want to make sure like I deliver properly. But it literally took me like to go. So it was about to start. I went outside, and I just remember like closing my eyes and like trying to, I don't know, talk to him. And I didn't have the best relationship with God, or I wasn't very religious at the time. But I just remember I was like, please just like get me through this, get me through
Hmm.
this. And I just literally, dude, like everything just, all the stress,
Zoned
everything went
in.
out. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm good. And
Hmm.
obviously, like I listened to the whole funeral, everyone was speaking, you're
Hmm.
crying.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was my turn to go up there, and it was just like all the stress had left my body, and it was just I got to take in the moment for what it was, and like feel uh, feel at peace.
Hmm.
Yet there was still so much like I had to process, but I felt at peace in that moment.
Hmm.
And I genuinely believe that was like a hand of God moment in the micro sense. Like obviously there I feel like I've had way larger ones, but
Hmm.
those are like long stories.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah, that one for sure, it like fleeted me. And I will say another very like spiritual and like another spiritual moment I had was actually in Philadelphia. I was in Philly, and if you're ever in Philly, dude, it is literally there's so much history in that town. It
Hmm.
is incredible.
Hmm.
So I remember we went to church, and like I was praying, and my eyes were closed, and I swear, dude, like I
Hmm.
swear I just saw like everything that that the pastor was saying, like I saw like just a
Mm-hmm.
visual in my head, and like I got the chills,
Mm-hmm.
and like I literally just felt so connected to my faith, and I was like, this is what I believe in. Like, I understand what I have to do, and like the
Mm-hmm.
ways I want to act, and like treat people, and
Yeah.
I do think that's important, and that definitely, because you're so right, dude. Like I always had that feeling of like, how much credit do you give to your
Exactly.
family? How much credit do you give to yourself? How much
Mm-hmm.
and do you give all the credit to God? And
Uh-huh.
it's such a it makes conversations so interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe in God. I
Yeah.
do. And
Mm-hmm.
God gave us free will, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how much credit do I give my mom when she,
Mm-hmm.
goes through a divorce and takes it on the chin and still
Yep.
raises me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, especially when she's not super religious, it's
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
it's tough, dude. So I,
Yeah. It
I totally
is.
know what you're saying.
Yeah. And I'm surrounded by people like my generation is definitely like going away from that, and part of the reason is the radicals and the way they believe and stuff like that. But like, yeah, man, that's a battle I've always had, always, and it goes back to my pops. He's just, and I've had a couple of those moments that you're talking about, man. I had a like act physical moment where I was uh like literally driving and swerving in a lane, like going way too fast into this right turning lane with it like pissing rain in this beater fucking 92 Camry I was driving.
Right.
And I swerved so hard and I literally my back end like was just sliding. I was about to go like maybe 45, 50 miles an hour into like T-bone this vehicle. And last second I'm like turning the wheel, but the car's not turning because
Right.
there's so much water. And last second it just like fishtails in place, and then I just like
No
turn
way.
straight into place. And that was the moment where I just like pulled over. It's pissing rain. I'm in the middle of Lexington, Kentucky, just like in my Papa John's uniform, just like sitting there thinking like, what the fuck just happened? Like one of those moments where you're just like, wow, like I was done, down for the count, where you just slow motion. You're just like, well, here you go. You just chalk it up. Here I go.
Right,
And
dude.
but another moment, man, was so this is one of the best things that I'll be able to always look back on when my dad passed. Was I'm so lucky, I'm so glad I got to have this, which is funny how life works. So colon cancer runs in both sides of my family. Obviously, my dad's had it 4 times, so he's very like big on getting me and my siblings tested for it and stuff. So getting colonoscopies and stuff like that. Um, so he just funded my first one about like coming up on 2 years now. Which I need to go get another one. But we went to Dominican to do it because he went to Dominican to get all his throughout his four, and the doctors here in America that would take care of him were like, oh, these are great photos. You're good. Like definitely if it's cheaper for you, it seems like you got a good doctor out there. Everything was good. So I went to his doctor that helped him through the decade of him dealing with cancer. And I went and got mine. But in the process, it worked out perfectly because my dad had this in his town. They do this little slow pitch softball league of all the like ex big leaguers that come from my dad's town and like old guys, and they all just go out there and play like a little couple games, right? And like the
Yeah.
fans come out, beer vendors, like all the food vendors at this like little league field, and they all just party, just like hookah, everything. Everybody's just out in the streets partying, right?
Right.
And I got to see, man. I got to see like my dad firsthand, and I've been 4 or 5 times to DR. I have been, but we stayed in his hometown this time, and I got to see and listen to and shake so many people's hands that had such great things to say about my pops. You know what I mean? Like people saying like, your dad's the reason why I played baseball. Like I was on the streets doing a bunch of stupid shit. Your dad was my coach. Because the coaches there are like 14-year-olds coaching like uh little kids. You know what I mean? So he's
Yeah.
like, your dad was my coach, kept me off the streets. If I needed food, your dad found a way to get me food, like stuff like that. And that right there, man, just felt like an experience in itself of like a message like being attempted to be delivered to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
uh, because I think about what life looks like after my dad passes, and me and my dad have those conversations, like real transparent. We don't hide around the fact that, hey, like my dad is not only was the majority breadwinner, but like also is the guy that gets shit done for my mom and for our family and helps everything out. And it's like when he goes, who's gonna step up? Who's gonna do that? And
Right.
my dad's always made it clear that like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to do that. Like, my dad's aware of how sometimes I can take a step back. For example, I'm the only one that lives away from Florida, which is where all my family is. My brother and my sister, they stay home and they leech off my parents. And sometimes my mom feels indifferent about that in certain ways, but my dad consistently reminds me like, hey, I'm going to need you to show up and be that guy, whether that means you not being a recluse the way you like to be from us for whatever reason. He doesn't take that, doesn't get offended by that. He knows that I'm in my own chapter right now,
Right.
and Florida isn't the best place. But he has those conversations with me, and I remember us having that conversation for the first time, bro. And I went to my room that night, and I sat there, like staring up at the ceiling. Got no sleep that night, just thinking. Like, that's a tough conversation to have with your dad. You know what I mean? You're so shielded from reality. Like,
Right.
this Superman does die. Superman dies in the comics. Death of Superman. It happened. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
Superman will die. It doesn't matter who you are. It's gonna happen. Your pops will go at one point. And I haven't dealt with much loss in my life, so it's very foreign to me. But and I just sat there thinking, like, what does that look like? Can I step up? Are those shoes that I need to fill? Is that even a way that I need to look at it? Like,
Right.
and that trip solidified that so much for me, because it was like it made clear, oh, I just need to move a certain,
Right.
like I just need to move the way this man moves. That's it. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
just look at all these people telling me all these things about my dad. Like, that's it. I just gotta move like that. It's not serious in any way. It's not, it doesn't need to be something that needs to be, put that pressure on me in that way. I just gotta move the way this guy moves, which I feel
Yeah.
like like I told you earlier, I do a version of that. And so
Definitely.
that was a big one for me, man. That kind of
Dude.
just brought me closer to kind of thinking like, dude, like,
Yeah, it's so powerful, dude.
powerful,
And
yeah.
that, like, being able to talk to people who have like stories with, people in your life that are like super important to you,
Mhm.
that is the ultimate wisdom, and you
Mhm.
get to know someone so much more through those people, than you could ever imagine. And I will say, just it was something similar with my grandfather's funeral. It was the biggest funeral I've ever seen, and I've been to plenty of funerals, and this one was huge. Like, I swear, there was
Yeah.
senators, family, distant relatives, like
Mhm.
distant friends, whatever. Like, everyone came, and just that feeling. I know you follow like Gary V.
Mhm. He's a
um,
guy.
he's the guy, dude, and
Love
he
that
he
guy.
talks about his biggest goal is having a huge funeral, and it's the
Mhm.
ultimate like sign of respect. Like, someone
Mhm.
caps off your life and is willing to like go out of their way to
Mhm.
celebrate your life. And I think that's a value, and just having everyone around that understood who you were, like talk to your
Mhm.
kids, talk to your grandkids, even, like, that is the most beautiful thing. And I'm
Mhm.
glad you got to talk to those people, dude, and
Yeah.
understand your father for who he
Mhm.
is. And that I had a it's so funny, dude. I literally was talking to my dad about this, I think yesterday, because everyone talks about my dad in a very high light, and working with him has kind of amplified me being around those people, and like getting to hear stories about him and understanding who he is. And I
Mhm.
never looked at it like that until you until you told that story. So thank you
Mhm.
for that,
Yeah, of
because
course.
at the end of the day, it's like it is getting me way closer to him, even if I'm
Uh-huh.
just sitting down with this coworker and he's telling stories. But
Mhm.
one thing my coworker said about my dad is, he was just like, he's like, hey man, like, I'll tell you, your dad always picks up the phone. He always picks up on those hard calls, or if he knows that he's about to get his ass chewed out by like an investor or whatever, he still picks up.
Mhm.
And that's something that not everyone does. And
Mhm.
I heard that, and I was just like, I'm always gonna pick up my phone. Like, I don't care what's
Nice.
gonna happen on the other line. Like, it's
Uh-huh.
just so important. And there's like, I love the NBA. Like, they always say, like, LeBron's greatest asset is his
Mhm.
availability. And
Uh,
it same goes for you know, being a family man, being in work, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being available is such an underrated trait that you can have, like just day
Yep.
to day. It's like, who's gonna be there? Who's
Mm-hmm.
gonna like show up? You fucking sent him a date like a month ago. Like, is he gonna fucking
Exactly.
be there? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I've gotten very passionate about being the person that shows up. And you know, I at the end of the day, that's what I want my legacy to be, is
Uh-huh.
like, you tell me, you like, he was always down, he always
Yes,
shows
sir.
up, he's always
Yes,
there, you
sir.
know, and we
Mm-hmm.
had fun while doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, we learned something. So
Mm-hmm.
that that is literally, dude, what, I don't know, dude, like that is the greatest wisdom that's probably been spoken on these podcasts, because it's so true. And that's
Yeah.
why it was designed. Like, that's why I wanted to do this. I was like, I want
Uh-huh.
my kids to understand like who I was through the stories that, you know, my friends
Mm-hmm.
speak, even like, you know, distant friends, like people I just
Mm-hmm.
kept in touch with. Like, I want them to know your life,
Uh-huh.
because you were a part of mine, you know. and
Uh-huh.
and that these are the types of perspectives that I've had around me, you know,
Yep.
growing up, even now. It's just like, that's, oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah, bro. Dude, this whole thing you're doing in the first place, I can tell you how I feel about it. I think it's awesome. And you've obviously shown that, like I said, since a young age, since you were posting and just going on these massive, I'll never forget your random posts with those long ass captions of you just fucking going, just
Right.
going, whatever you were feeling, thinking, like, quotes you felt that you like, just anything. And we're talking about a teenager. This is a teenage kid just going, you know what I mean? And so you doing this now, and you, the pod with Aiden and stuff like that, it's like, none of that shit, surprises me. But, I'm around a lot of people who, for some reason, I don't know, but I got a lot of people in my life, a lot of close friends who they struggle with taking the first step, whether it's something they're passionate about, whether it's something they're not passionate about. Like, it just doesn't matter. They struggle with the first step based off external opinions, based off how they feel about themselves. Like, it just doesn't matter. And so I respect, more than respect. I love it, bro. It fires me up. If anything, like seeing you have those conversations with your buddies, and I love tuning in. Like, for the most part, I'm driving a lot of times while I work, so I have to listen to a lot of things. I'm not able
Right.
to like do a lot of stuff while I'm at work, but um, just able to turn it on and listen, bro. And it's so great for you. It comes from a place of just like, this is what I want to do, so I want to do it. And I know that off rip, people hear that, and maybe people who think like me and you hear that and think, well, why is that such a big deal? But that is such a hard thing in our generation, bro,
Right.
and yours as well. Like, it's such a tough thing that a lot of people struggle with. Like, they think of millions of reasons as to why they shouldn't do something they want to do. And for you, people like you and the way you think, it's just so easy. But off the fact of this is what I want to do. I just feel like doing this. That
Right.
you never lose that, because I'm telling you,
Thank
even me, somebody who tries to move with confidence in everything I do, I sometimes struggle with that. So it's like, and not as bad as others, but I do struggle with it. And
Right.
um, I wish I could be the way you are with that stuff, man, because it's more, and I don't even want to say courageous. It's just more. It's just dope, man. It's more dope than
Thank
you
you.
think.
Thank
It
you,
comes
man.
so easy for you, clearly, but just keep that in mind, man. It's definitely a superpower. It's definitely a good skill and quality to have.
Thank you, bro. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And it is a skill that has to be developed. And, you know,
Um,
I remember the first podcast Aiden and I did together, and it's just like, man, we never even, I'm so blessed to have Aiden in my life, because we never even like thought about like shitty reviews. We never thought
mhm,
about it being shit, you know.
mhm.
And I will say, like, we both jumped over that hurdle together. Like, you know, it was always in the back of our mind, but we never talked about it. You know, we
Mm,
never really did. And if it came up, it was just like, dude, we're putting stuff out there, and that's
yep,
more powerful than anything. We were
exactly.
more concerned. Our main concern was the stuff we were talking about. You
Yeah.
know, like, is this too far? Is this too
Uh,
personal? You know, stuff
yeah.
like that. Or do we reference any stories that we probably shouldn't
Mm,
tell? And one thing that I've realized, and how I've kind of formatted like the people around me and the just environments that I'm in, it's just like, even if that comes up, even if it's a matter of hey, this isn't of quality. Like the people around me just understand like life is a process. And
Mm-hmm.
that was something that my mom exemplified so heavily growing up. She just, I don't know, dude, she was always like
You don't got to
doing.
tell me. I hope Don knows how I feel about her, dude. I mean, again, just in a world where who knows what your parents were going through at the time, and the way she was taking care of me, washing my baseball clothes for that tourney where I was staying the night, whenever I was staying the night at your house, letting me eat all your guys' fucking food, letting me be loud and keep them awake as two working parents. You know what I mean? Who already deal with enough. Like, who knows what they were dealing with? And they were taking care of me as if I was their own. This little loud ass brown Dominican kid. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
taking care of me as if I was you or Aiden. Never once, ever did Don or your dad ever make me feel like not safe. What maybe not like I was overextending and not that I was a nuisance ever, bro. And that you don't realize those things. And there's a lot of parents that have done that with me, and I wish I could sit and thank. And I wish I
Definitely.
could. And I hope, not I hope, I know that when I come down and visit, that you're gonna put your mom in front of me. However, we're gonna make it work, because I just want to give her the biggest hug and kiss, bro. Like that, I just have so much respect for Dawn. And again, not that I don't have respect for your pops, but your mom was a trooper with us, bro. Like she really grinded dealing with us, having all those boys over for sleep, or when the Macalusos also would come over, dealing
Yeah.
with me and Joan in the same fucking house. Like that's a lot of fucking energy, bro. It's no
That is, dude.
joke.
That is, dude.
I
Yeah.
got so much love for your mom, bro. So when you talk about your mom, it's like you're sitting here telling me it's like no brainer. I don't need to think about those things. It's like she showed me that. So did Lisa Macaluso. So did Nick's mom Jill. Like so many, bro. So did Coach Nick. Coach Nick is somebody like this conversation we're having right now. I want to sit down and talk with Coach Nick, bro, because
Right.
what he did for me, like, and I don't mean to get off topic, but you
No,
talking
you're
about your
perfect,
mom got
dude.
me thinking like what he did for me, man, the way he took care of me and the man he made me, honestly, like the things I think about and arguments I had with him as my coach. Because again, and I'm not saying this in like a braggadocious way, but like I was the guy on that Tucson Fire team. So me and Coach Nick had a lot of conversations one on one. And he did have to talk to me in a way that was like, hey, you're a leader. Like the way you move, everybody else is gonna move. If you move like an asshole, like a showboater, everybody else feeds off that. And you gotta know
Right.
that. And these are conversations I was having as a 10-year-old kid, bro. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you know, Coach Nick, Italian, the way he comes across sometimes is difficult, you know?
Yeah.
But he taught me so much as a man, bro. He took care of me like his own son. He really did. And obviously, part of it was because I was performing, but he just I learned so much from him, man. I really did. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. Again, I know I've said it so much, but like, I'm so grateful because you get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up in life, bro. And whether or not you have like my girl, she's great. She makes me feel so safe and the ability to have conversations. But even then, life gets you so caught up, you don't talk.
Right.
You don't open up and completely talk, bro. Like I haven't spoken about that college shit in years. And
Crazy.
to be honest, I definitely haven't spoken about it in that way to my parents. Definitely not. And I just haven't spoken about it the way I did. Honestly, I can look back even with my boy, my best friend, like I haven't spoken about it in that way. And I'm just so thankful that we're able to do this and we're continuing to do this right now. Like it seriously is making me feel uh so good. It's like a huge weight off my shoulders that I didn't even know was there.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
crazy. Conversation,
Definitely.
man. It's crazy.
I
I
no,
don't do it
I
enough. I need to
definitely.
call more people.
No, absolutely, dude. It's so my mentality kind of came from just with like conversations and everything. It came from this dude. I was at some speaker series. It's like a little conference. I forget his name, but he's a successful entrepreneur in Arizona. And that's how the class was organized. It was once a week they'd bring in a successful entrepreneur, and you would
That's
just
cool.
he'd just get up there,
Pick his
speak.
brain.
Yeah, and
That's sick.
you get to ask questions. And it's so funny. My dad and I we were doing it in April. He did it by himself, but
Nice.
we're going back together to give a talk in April. So I'm really
Nice.
looking forward to that. But the what he said he was just like, I organize my life. He's like, I like simplicity. I organize my life 3 ways. He's like, health, family, or he goes, family, health, wealth. And when he said that, he's like, I wake up, I call my mom, I call my aunt. He's like, I call everyone that's important to me, my mentor, and I just chop it up with each one of them 10 minutes. And he's like, he's like, I'll do Mondays, my mom, my aunt, my mentor. Tuesdays, he'll switch the people. But he's like, the key is just talk and like get
Uh,
those things off your chest, and it like get therapy, even if you have no one to
dude,
talk to. It's like,
and I don't do it, Brett. Like when I tell you, truthfully, full transparency, that I'm nervous, and I've explained this to my girl. I'm nervous on this conversation until it starts to happen. Like when you throw the idea, I've been wanting to get on the podcast with you and Aiden for the longest, bro.
right,
And when you throw that idea and we plan the date and everything, I get an anxiousness feeling up until it happens, and it happens the same thing when someone calls me. As soon as I see a friend's name pop up on my phone randomly, dude, I'm overcome with like this anxiety that is like so crazy. And I don't know what the root of it is. I truly don't, because I love to talk. I love to chop it up. I have that
right.
energy about me, but it's like the starting the conversation, dude, I'm like so anxious and like my chest gets tight and like I'm thinking about 5:30 all day. You know what I mean? And it's like not even because it's like a high stakes. There's no stakes. I know that. And as soon as I'm in the conversation, it's not a big deal. Boom, I'm immediately in my element. But for some reason, it affects how often I call my parents. It affects how often I'm available to my brother and my sister, even though majority of the time they call me, they're asking for money. That's not the reason why I'm like anxious about it. It's just for some reason, bro, and I don't know the root. I truly do not. And that,
Yeah,
like you talking about what that guy's saying, he's like, that is something that I beat myself up about so much because I don't call my parents enough. And it's not that they ever give me stress or give me problems, but for some reason, bro, there's something that I don't call my friends enough. I forget, I don't forget, but I'm not that guy who's gonna post and send you happy birthday all the time. If we're like, uh, if you're somebody that would do it to me for some reason, I'll forget or I'll be a day late or like I'm just not
right,
on top of things like that, and I don't know what it is, bro. But there's an anxiety to it, and I strive and hope that I can figure it out and conquer that. It's such a big thing that you're talking about. It almost feels like you sitting here talking about it almost feels like it's kind of scary or crazy because you're sitting here talking about it as if like you're my third eye, like telling me
right.
like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that
Yeah,
you're even bringing this up is surreal, bro, because it's something I struggle with so bad. And
right,
maybe that is an approach that would help me. Like just Mondays, call these people, 10, 15 minutes. Don't overcomplicate it. It's not that serious. Just boom, get it done. And like you said, it could be a therapy. It really could. And most of the time when I do end up answering the phone and I get into these conversations, I'm so glad that I did every time.
right,
But it's just the idea of getting it done and not putting it off and not being anxious about it. I just can't for some reason, and I don't
right.
know what it is.
Yeah, no, dude. And you talk about my mom, and how you see her is literally like everything that she is
Yeah.
and still is, and more. Like, she's incredible.
Hmm.
I so I typically I try and call her once a day. And
Yeah.
obviously, like, I'm human. Like, I'm gonna have shitty days. I'm gonna wake up and not feel fully energized,
Hmm.
feel like shit. And
Hmm.
even on those days, those are the times where I really try and reach out to her. And I'll call her. Yeah, it's typically not once a day now. It's like probably once every other day. But even if I'm having a shitty day, I'll sit with her on the phone and just be like, "Hey, like, how are you doing? Family good? Everything, what
Yeah.
do you got today?" And then I'll be like, "Oh man, like, I gotta jump," like,
Hmm.
and it'll be a
Hmm.
quick call or whatever. But just the action of like literally just calling her is so important to me, just to, one, check in, and two, just hear her voice. Like, she's like my comfort voice. She like
Hmm.
randomly hits me with like crazy wisdom like all the time. And I'm so blessed to have that in my life. And I know what you're saying with like the anxiety and everything there, because before I started my job, that's how I would get. I would have missed texts, missed calls, missed everything. emails, and then I got into sales, and it really was just like, okay, when you make 50 calls a day and you get told no every fucking call for like
Uh,
weeks straight because you're not good enough, or they don't believe in the product, it's like
mm,
you start to realize, like, you're right, dude. There is no stakes. There is no stakes. I'll
exactly.
make that call any day. I'll call this
Uh,
person. Yeah, fuck it. Who cares? Who cares?
mm,
And then as I got better at sales and better there, I was like, okay, now I need to treat my real life like this, like my personal life. No missed texts, no missed calls. If my mom calls, I answer right away. If I can't answer, I'll send a text, be like, hey, look, I'm busy. I'll call you back, whatever. And actually calling her back is key,
mm,
because it's so easy to just get caught up in all this shit
exactly.
that you got going on. And
Hmm.
like you were saying, it's like, I lived with a girl for 8 months, and I don't think I really talked about my feelings, like, for
Yeah,
for all of that time, and we spent every day together, you
exactly.
know, and yeah,
Exactly.
and it's only on me to blame, it
Uh-huh.
really is. It
Uh-huh.
really is.
Nobody else to blame. Yeah.
E- Exactly. So yeah, I do think talking is so important, and
Dude, it's crazy.
it's
Feels like
nuts,
I'm on mushrooms. Like right now. Seriously, bro. Like in the
right?
sense, I don't know if you've ever taken mushrooms, but like in the
Not
sense
yet.
that like, okay. You say you haven't?
Not yet, dude. I
Okay.
totally, like,
So
I'm down for that
it feels like
experience.
microdosing mushrooms right now, us having this conversation, simply because I'm using my brain in a way that I don't use it often. You know what I mean? And
Right.
things are firing because we're having this conversation and we're opening things up and everything. And it just truly right now, that's why I was telling you, I'm just so grateful for this conversation right now, bro, because it's making me feel like the way things are firing, the chemicals in my brain that are firing right now. It's like, wow, the power of just sitting down and talking with somebody, not looking at your fucking phone, not uh seeing what's the scores of the games on right now, like just sitting down and talking, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like not mindlessly scrolling on TikTok. Like, dude, it's surreal, bro. It's
Yeah,
surreal.
so there's yeah, I'm sure you're aware. It's like, obviously, with all these social medias, it's like the everyone's trying to buy your attention, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
these companies are literally, they're like, the more you're on our app, the more you
Yep.
swipe on Tinder or Hinge, or
Mm-hmm.
like on Hinge, whatever, the more money we make. So they
Uh-huh.
design things to, like, buy your attention, and in a way, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because you start to realize that your attention is the greatest currency in the
Yep.
world. And when you have that realization, it's like, I'm going to start directing it here. I'm going to talk
Mm-hmm.
more. I'm going to, fuck this, like, let me
Mm-hmm.
just get on it, and just chop it up with the homie, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think, you talk about your generation versus my generation. It's definitely pooled when it
Yeah.
comes to, like, social
Dude.
media addiction
Yeah.
and everything there. It's sad, dude. Like, it really is,
Hmm.
and it's only gonna get worse until, obviously, it gets better. It's a very,
Exactly.
like, nascent saying, but that's how it's gonna be, dude. We just need
Yeah.
something to, like, click.
Yep. And part of it is being aware and realizing that, okay, now, like, because that's what this conversation has really done. Honestly, it's kind of almost like knocked me in the head for real. Like, almost boom, like, yo, where you been? You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
honestly, it really has. And it's just about being aware. And I definitely have not been at all, um, of how much that needs to be held in check. Like, you got to have that awareness of how much that it's a responsibility you should have,
right,
of not getting carried away, when it comes to all those things. Cause it seems like I really have been, like, point
right.
blank. That's truly what I'm realizing right now,
Right, dude, and we've
just
all
based
been
off this
victim of
conversation.
it too,
Yeah.
man. Like, it's not just you, I promise you.
Yeah.
It's like, I
Crazy.
do the same shit, like, all the
Yeah.
time, where I'm just like, holy shit, what did I do yesterday? Like, I can't even
Exactly.
tell you what happened. Like, I can't.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
And it's scary, dude. Or, like, one exercise I saw online that really changed my mindset on, like, Reels or TikTok, whatever, was they had this group of people, and they were like, "Hey, everyone, pull out Instagram, pull out TikTok, whatever you use, pull out the Reel function, and swipe, and watch 10 videos." And they all swipe. They watch 10, like, however much time passes by, and at the end, the guy, he's like, okay, now tell me what one of the videos were. and nobody raises their hand. Like nobody raises their hand. They don't remember. The
Uh,
information that you're consuming is not
yeah,
real information.
exactly. It's just a
You know,
dose of what is it? Dopamine?
dopamine. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just bang, quick little hit. You know what I mean?
and that's scary, dude.
Yeah,
It's
it's
fucking
crazy, bro.
scary. It's scary. So like when you're talking to your dad and you're having those conversations of like, man, what is legacy? What is
Mm-hmm.
your legacy? Like and you get to see it in real
Mm-hmm.
life and process it and understand like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like this is how much like he didn't have this. He didn't have
Mm-hmm.
the phone. He wasn't distracted by this. He
Yep.
covered all this ground without it. And it's
Yeah.
like if you use the technology to help that process and like to
100%.
become that person, it's like we have such an advantage, and
100%.
it just has to be used properly, and
Yeah.
that's where it's so hard, dude. Like
Uh,
finding the balance in that respect is like, oh.
yeah.
But you talk about, or you brought up your brother and your sister, and like I was kind of given two younger siblings just because my mom is like in the
Mm-hmm.
process of being remarried, and I always wanted to be an older brother, and now here we are, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I never felt such a sense of responsibility to
Yeah.
like hold myself to a standard. And obviously I was basically little brother my whole life up until like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I will say it's been so enlightening. But you grew up as the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was that like, dude? How did that shape your perspective and the way you think?
Dude, I mean, I wasn't early on. I was influenced a lot by my older brother, especially in baseball, because my brother was a stud. But early on, man, I looked up to my brother a lot, and really had a sense of like, oh, kind of not what he says goes, but like what he says is law and it should be heavily like listened to. And it
Right.
wasn't until I got to a certain age where that kind of changed because my brother started doing some not good shit. But um, being a middle child is weird, bro. It's a weird thing because you know, honestly, it might be the easiest gig out of the three. If you really, if, like the way I look at it, it's just so easy because you don't have the responsibility of the oldest and um you don't have so many expectations to be compared to as the youngest. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like
Right.
the youngest is, and not to mention what I noticed with my sister was that she dealt with a much older set of my parents, like whether it was mentally or like they were just a lot more tired, so it's like, again, why being a parent is so hard and why I have so much respect for all the multiple set of parents I've had in so many different chapters of my life is that like being a parent to your children is hard. Imagine the people who are good to people who aren't their children. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I would say, man, it was. I'm definitely the favorite child, and it's because I stayed out of trouble the most. But it's a weird dynamic, man. Me and my siblings have been through a lot, and they're definitely. If you were to separate us, it'd be them two and me. And not in like any crazy detrimental ways, but like just in perspective and how they kind of look at things. They're more similar than I am to them. And I wasn't always the best brother. Sometimes growing up, I had a mentality where like, okay, we are different, and there's not much that we can like really see eye to eye on. So I'm just gonna keep a safe distance, and that kind of led to me maybe being looked at as like not the best brother to my younger sister, and I've dealt with that. As we've gotten older, obviously she came to a realization that um that I always, whether or not, while I was at a distance, I did keep it solid whenever we did engage. Like I was always positive and there for her.
Right.
And gave her better advice than my older brother did because my older brother's kind of a manipulator. He's got a lot of things to him, which I love him to death. And I love him more than I show him, which is something I need to be better at. But, that can just be hard. That's just something that's hard when it comes to family, man. Like, you need to be better in certain ways, but there's that pride and that righteousness that you have where you're just like, no, this motherfucker, he's got to lock in. He's not doing
Right.
his part either. So I'm not going to do my part.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was a
That's
weird
something I
dynamic.
needed to hear, man. Just so
Yeah,
you
it's
know
it's a
that.
it's a weird dynamic, especially with brothers, bro. I know how it works. Like that's what I was telling you. It's like, dude, I got an older brother. I know how it works. Like I know this how you. I can relate to a lot of things how you feel, even though um it's just you and Aiden. It's the simple idea of having an older brother, and what that entails, and what that feels like. And it's tough, man. Family's a whole different thing in itself, and all you can do is continue to tell yourself, I got to be better, and hope that one of you cracks it and decides to take that step back and be like, okay, we got to figure things out, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I would say being a middle child, man, my biggest takeaway on it is just there was a, I don't know how I could have done it, but I wish I was better to my siblings growing up. Like, I don't know what that would have looked like because I was just moving off the fact that I didn't want to disappoint my parents, and that led to a rift, that created like a rift between us. But I wish that it didn't happen that way.
Right.
That's where I'm at. Like, that's the way I look at it. Is I could have been better, but would being better to them have led to maybe creating a rift with me and my parents? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what would that have looked like? I have no idea. So I just take it on the chin and try to be better now as adults. It's a lot easier now that we're adults, But and a lot of that falls into the guilt that I have, I feel like, and why I'm always there for them financially and will lob them money when they need it. Because if we're looking at it just from a table perspective, I don't think I've ever asked my siblings for money. Definitely not my brother. I think I've asked my sister for maybe like, hey, lob me $20, I'll get you back when I get paid or something. But I definitely don't think I've ever asked my brother for a dime of his money. You know what I mean? Like a
Right.
dime. And these motherfuckers have ran me for the totals of thousands. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just, once you become an adult, obviously money plays a big factor that didn't play when you were a child. But yeah, I wish I could have did more, man. I wish I could have been better, but what would that have looked like? That's my big takeaway. And I wouldn't have changed that. I still would not change that for the relationship I have with my parents, because I love that relationship, and it's the only reason why, like I told you, move the way I move and am as happy as I am overall in life. So
Right.
I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. So with all the traveling and you've kind of been all over the place,
Yeah.
around the U.S. like doing different things. How did you maintain that relationship with your parents, especially when you feel like that
Yeah,
anxiety to pick up the
I
phone
owe
and
it to my parents. My parents, they always kept in touch, because you got to think. I'll give you a little background. Senior year, after junior year of high school, my parents moved to Florida. I moved to Florida for a semester. It was miserable. Obviously, you just pulled me away in my prime years of high school. Like, come on now. I'm just now
right,
grown into my body. Like, I'm just now starting to be a little more grown. Girls aren't looking at me as a little kid. And then you go and ship me to Florida on the East Coast after you raised me on the West Coast my whole life. Right.
right,
So, I convinced my dad to let me go back to Empire and graduate. So my parents let me move back by myself and live
wow,
with one of my buddies for that second semester for senior year. And I went back, and then obviously I had a girlfriend, and as soon as I graduated at Empire, I went to my undergrad in Kentucky. So boom, I'm away from my parents again. They're in Florida. So as soon as I finished in Arizona, away from them for a semester, I go to Kentucky for what's essentially 5 years, bouncing back and forth. But in the first 2.5, 3 years, I'm in a relationship. So guess what? When I have time off in school, I'm not going to Florida. I'm going to Arizona,
right,
where my
yep,
girl is currently at. You know what I mean? And so then, that's where the big rift with my siblings, with my younger sister happened. Because I used to come back. She used to always be like, "You're never here. So what are you like? Why are you telling me anything? Why are you even trying to like? You're never here." And she
right,
felt some way about that, which is why she gravitated towards my older brother. But yeah, I would say I owe it to my parents. I owe it to all my friends, honestly, because of what we were just talking about. That question was a great segue, because we were just talking about the phone call thing and the anxiety thing. I owe it to all my friends, bro, as to why we're as close as we are, because they keep in touch with me like no other. And maybe the phone calls are because they really need to vent, and I'm there for them, or maybe they just want to talk to me and they're asking me how I am. Regardless of what it is, they do a good job at at taking care of me, man. They really do, and I owe it to them. It's again another way I'm blessed, because I'm terrible. Was not the guy that was keeping that going with my parents or keeping that in touch with my parents. So
right.
one second, bro. I'm
No,
getting low data thing, a
No,
message.
you're perfect, man.
Sorry, then I gotta delete some storage, I guess. Yeah, it's true. I guess I gotta delete the 4 gigs of Bad Bunny on my phone. The
Oh,
four
that was
gigs.
another thing I was gonna ask you about was the music, dude.
1 second, 1 second. I guess I gotta delete fucking 2.5 gigs. All right, I should be good now. I'll just have to reload all those albums.
Dude, it's so funny.
uh,
Yeah, that. See, I've had those moments too. Like after my most recent breakup, though, I was like, man, I was pretty lost, dude. I gotta say, and yeah, I had a similar thing with my situation. It was like when I would go travel, like I would bring her with, and then when we got home, we were visiting her family, not mine,
yeah,
and it was just like this constant struggle of like, when do I see my mom? When do I,
yeah.
when do I see my
Mhm.
brother, my family? And it definitely brought a divide to where my mom was like, do you even give a fuck about us
Uh-huh.
anymore? And she literally, like, my mom, like, she's a
Yeah,
sweetheart, but she's also
yeah.
very confrontational.
100%.
And,
She don't play. She don't
and
play about her shit. She had her blow ups when I was over at the house. She don't play when she
right.
feels disrespected.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And it's like the perfect balance because I learned a lot from that of just like how
Hmm.
to convey your feelings. And,
Hmm.
obviously I would say I'm a little more tame than her,
Yeah.
but, but it's still an important skill to like
Uh,
communicate and everything. So I know exactly what you're saying. It's
yeah.
like those situations are so tough and
Yeah.
making time for everyone in your life is so difficult. But,
Hmm.
I like one of my best friends, his name's Nico, like throughout everything, he was the one dude that like called me every other day. And like, even if I didn't call him, bro, like he still
Hmm.
called and it was just,
Hmm.
we talked, chopped it up. He's like, are you doing good? What's going
Yeah.
on? Like,
Yeah.
and those are the type of relationships that I would say I predominantly have with people now because he really led the way in my life of like, okay, now I'm gonna call everyone. I'm gonna
Hmm.
do reach out. And it's so funny. He swipes my calls now because I call him like every day just to see how he's doing. But it goes the other way. So
Yeah.
it's
And
good.
it makes me think about that whole idea. It makes me think about something I've always disagreed with are the people who are like, yo, if people aren't making time to like hit you back and stuff, like that speaks so volumes, like all that stuff. And I've always hated that. Like people are gonna show like stop hitting somebody up and watch how much they hit you up. Like I've always
Yeah.
hated that ideology because I don't think that's so black and white. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I love my friends, and when it came to talking in person, I always showed them that. I always showed them that it wasn't that I neglected my friends or my family on a personal basis. It was when that virtual communication factor came in. Obviously, you know what I mean. Like if
Right.
we were to go to the 1800s, exclude everything else about me being brown and that way of life, obviously, just like simple human communication if we were to go back to the 1800s, I'd be a damn good friend who would communicate with all these people
Right.
like great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But don't sit here now in the 2000s and try to say in this century and try to say that people stop hitting people up and watch how much they like watch their true color show. It's like I've always disagreed with that, bro, because
Yeah.
there are people who again like me who just I struggle and I hate it and I think it's kind of sometimes I think look in the mirror and think it's dumb that I even struggle with that and like dude just call your people more like fuck. But it's something that I struggle with, man, and it's not personal. It's not so
Right.
personal, you know?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's why,
People love
like you said, I appreciate the
people.
Nikos. I appreciate those people because
Exactly.
they are the rocks. They keep those relationships together. And I have people in my life that do that and they don't even realize how important they are to us and our
Right.
dynamic and to me because of that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, people love generalizations and
Yes.
love like using identifying terms. And
Yes, bro.
dude, for me, it's like I don't know. And even with politics, dude, everyone's so
Dude,
black and
oh,
white,
dude,
dude.
yeah.
And in reality, it's like every problem. Like if you sat down and you literally looked at every problem, there's so much middle ground,
Exactly.
and there's so like there's so many
Exactly.
variables. Like nobody knows anything, and it's just like man. Even with my homies, like I know they're going through shit. Like I know, and when they like want to talk about it, I'm there for sure,
Mm-hmm.
100%. And I'll call in, I'll check, make sure they're good, but until we have that conversation, it's like, there's only so much I can do, there's only
Mm-hmm.
so much ground I can cover. And, I hate that phrase too. I'm glad you brought that up because
Dude,
it's like, yeah, it's such a
couldn't be
weird,
further from the truth. Like it could be in certain cases, but it's not things aren't black and white. It makes me think about me. My girl always sometimes kind of gets like annoyed when I bring this up, but like even though she definitely does kind of agree, but in certain situations the way I bring it up, it definitely I do stretch it. But like the idea of like people from Kentucky or the South in general, right? That's a big thing. If I were to explain one big thing of the difference between where I grew up and the South is black and white thinking. That's like
right?
you see it to like clear as day in almost every way of thinking out there in the South. Like it's just black and white. It's what it is. That this is how things work. And I wasn't exposed to that mentality a lot in a lot of ways growing up in Tucson and stuff. And I
Yeah,
would say that would be the biggest difference that I see from like even the East Coast, even Florida. You know what I mean? Like there's those style of people is that they get
right.
so caught up in these overgeneralizations, man.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
dude. It's so different. And
Yeah.
it's definitely, you kind of notice it in Phoenix a
Yeah.
little bit, is what I realized with my friends. Like, uh,
Maybe
I
big city,
yeah, big city,
maybe.
something. I don't know. Like they see it. Like obviously, yeah, I'm very white passing. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm half Mexican. I don't look at it at all. People just
Uh,
look at me and they're like, "Oh my god, this is a white man for sure." And without a doubt, like I own it. But
mhm.
my buddy, he's black, and he's just like, dude, he's like, I cannot stand being in Tempe anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
just so like there's some sort of divide, and he's like, I can't even explain it. Like I walk down the street, like people are looking at me weird. He's like,
Mhm.
in group projects, I don't like gel in, and it's
Mhm.
just like shit like that he really was passionate about. And he was just
Yeah.
like, there's nothing, like there's something wrong. And
Yeah.
he actually moved back to Tucson, dude. And
Oh
it's
wow.
just like he just couldn't do it. So it's like I was very blessed growing up in Tucson because I didn't even think about it, dude.
Yeah,
And,
I swear.
like I was very ignorant in
Mhm.
that respect. I still am, and there's still so much to
Mhm.
learn. But I'm a student of life, and
Mhm.
a student of everything. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like I know everything about
Yeah.
racism and what other people go through because I don't, dude.
Yeah.
Like I have no clue. But as a human, it's like it's up to me to like better understand it
Mhm.
and understand like how I'm different
Yeah.
and move that way, as you
Mhm.
say. It's
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah. It
So,
is.
but dude, I think that's everything that I have like written down. Is
Dude.
there anything that you wanted to
No,
touch
there's got to
on?
be
Like,
more, man. There's got to be more. I'm locked in. I'm locked
it's,
in.
it's, it's like, I think. Oh, music, dude.
Yeah, there we go.
You love music,
Taylor,
dude.
I adore it.
And I remember, okay, so I don't know how long ago this was, but you posted on your Instagram a
Uh-huh.
song
Uh-huh.
that you did with
Mhm.
your brother, right?
My older brother, yeah, one of the
Your older
best.
brother.
That song is the closest me and my brother have been since we were little. In that session, just making
Right.
that song, it was amazing.
It's
Yeah,
incredible. Like, how did
yeah,
that even come about, dude?
dude. My
Like,
brother's been making music since he was in like high school. He's always like, while our music taste is very different, he's always like the rap and the gangster rap and just the kill murder and fuck bitches get money shit.
hmm,
And I used to like music like that, like all the mainstream stuff, but it wasn't until like sophomore year of high school for me that I like kind of grew into my own liking of music, where it wasn't just the latest Lil Wayne and the latest Drake that I was listening to. It was like I started finding artists that weren't big, and I didn't care if they were big. They were just feeling shit that I liked, you know.
right.
And yeah, so he always had the equipment, and he was always recording and trying to be this like artist and definitely not doing it the right way or for the right reasons. But then I so really this was really after honestly after I didn't start writing music until I broke up with my ex, honestly.
Mm,
And that was like maybe almost a year after that I started, and it was just because I didn't know how else to like address things. So I was just like writing to beats. I wasn't like recording anything, just like putting a track line on and just writing to it. And then I kind of stopped, and then I got back into it, and I decided to make that song with my brother. But I have so many songs on my Mac, bro. I still record. I have a song I wrote that I put my girl's voice on, and it's something I do that's like a hobby. I would never want to be. I'm not in love with the art of making music. Does that make sense? I
Right.
love what it does for me in writing with it. Does that make sense?
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
what I like about it. So for me, as far as making music, that's what it's always been. It's just like a way to like almost like a way you'd put on a baseball game or like way you'd watch Sunday Night Football. It's like
Right.
I'm bored. This is a way to kind of stimulate myself and do something cool. And it's led to like, dude, I had to my boy Lorenzo, which we dealt with our beefs when we were like children, like 15, 16, and then we weren't that tight growing up. And then once I started coming back to Arizona and I broke up with my girl, my ex was a big reason of why I had a lot of problems with friends and everything, because she was taking up a majority of my time. So like I wasn't hanging out with my buddies as much,
Right.
and I wasn't making memories. So it's like we were drifting apart. And then once I broke up with her, I started hanging out with my boys more. And this summer after I graduated, I got myself an Airbnb in Tucson, and I spent 3 months out there in Tucson just chilling, kicking it myself, hanging out with my buddies. I was working, and me and my buddy we have this terrible EP that we made that we had so many laughs and good times to, and
Right.
that led to so many conversations that I learned so much about him, and just like pretty much like this, just like that's what it led to. Like we just grabbed a 6 pack of beers, start drinking, and just like start recording and writing. And he's really into it. He's in LA right now. He makes music full time. He can shred the guitar. He shreds the keys. He can make beats. Like he's into it. That's his passion. That's what he wants to do. That's what he's putting his head down and doing. He's
Wow.
working a shitty job just to afford to be out in LA and make connections. He's really tight with his buddy he met that works at a studio out there in LA on Sunset, and it's like he's just doing his thing. So
Wow.
that combination of me just being passionate about it kind of really helped him, because he was kind of a recluse and wasn't like fully at the time. This was about 2.5 years ago. At the time, was kind of like hesitant to fully kind of open himself up of just like posting and doing all this stuff. And so I noticed that having me there and us making the songs and me giving him that like affirmation, like, bro, this is fire. Like, this is good.
Yeah.
Like, put it out, led to us making some freaking, in my eyes, that are fucking smash hits, but obviously are not good because I'm a novice. But just great times, man. So that's what music is for me, man. It's just been, and it really took off sophomore year, and then it really took off freshman year of college when I discovered Bad Bunny. That's when it changed for me
Right.
completely. Like that's
That's when
when
the
it was,
Instagram videos started coming
bro.
out,
I'm telling you,
dude.
it was a metamorphosis. Like it was something. He's different, bro. I could talk about music all day. Like I said, I drive a lot.
Right.
DoorDash, food delivery, all that stuff. That's the only job I've ever had. I was a bartender, barbacks for a little bit, but that was terrible. But driving is all I've ever really done. So I'm always listening to music. He's just, dude, that's a huge basis for me already when it comes to Americans
Yeah.
or white people, is when they can get like they can get my music. Like, because
Right.
like my best friend, his name's Garrett. He's great, bro. He has all the Hispanic reggaeton songs. He's got them all on his phone. He tells me which ones he likes. He finds out what the lyrics are and tells me, dude, this bar is crazy. Like he's fully,
Right.
and this is a dude from
Yeah.
Nashville, bro. Like this is a guy who has every reason to be a racist piece of shit, and is very just like appreciative and open minded enough to really adapt to all this stuff. So I mean, Bad Bunny's a legend, bro. Music
Dude.
is what it's been meant to my life. It honestly got me past all the insecurities that I dealt with in my past relationships. Like it
Wow.
led me to leave them all in the past and officially be done with them and not let them come to light in any way. Like completely nip them, like cut them. Because they'll
Right.
always come back sometimes in certain ways. And it's like music
Definitely.
helped me completely shut them back out. Like I don't have anything. I don't carry any negatives from those relationships anymore. And it's
Wow.
100% to writing music, because there's a certain thing about writing out your feelings, bro. Like honestly, like It's again pretty much like what we're doing is it opens
Right.
up ways of thinking, like lines of thinking that you don't get from scrolling on Instagram and seeing somebody and feeling bad for yourself, or texting a friend who maybe has their allegiance to somewhere and it doesn't know how to be there for you. Like looking for it externally is not the key. Music helped me look for it internal. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the answers are in you. It
Yep.
was you all
100%. They
along.
always were, but I didn't know how to get them.
Right.
And hearing a sad beat, looking up a certain artist type beat, and then seeing all these people who are expressing their art in their bedroom, not looking to make money, but because they're passionate, and then putting a title on that beat of one word that is usually in some type of emotion. You listen to the song, you know that they titled it that word for some reason. You
Right.
listen to it, then it starts getting you writing, and it starts getting you thinking. Um, and you just start finding things out about yourself, bro. It's so crazy. It's so much fun. That's one thing I've always enjoyed about my friend group is when we get fucked up, we just get fucked up and start freestyling and like messing
Yeah,
around
right.
because it's super funny. Like we'll have those, you hear a beat and you know you're going to go funny with it, or we'll have times where I got a boy in Florida. His name's Gianni. He can really write. He grew up in Milwaukee, so he kind of had a tough childhood, but he can get real serious with his shit. And so you'll have times where it's like that. And it's great, man. Music
Right.
I highly suggest it, bro. Like,
It
honestly, I'm not good at it at all, but it's so much fun. Like,
right.
it doesn't, and because you approach this stuff the way you do, like, you would have so much fun with it, bro, because it's a way of, uh, it's just a way of expressing yourself and really digging deep. It's therapy. It really is, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So I love it. Like everything you said, I fully align with. And that's like music. I've made songs, dude. And
Nice.
I have I used to always do them for like school projects.
Oh,
Like if
same.
we had to do presentations, I would always make a
Yes,
song
sir.
and I would always present it and people would be
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh shit, this is actually
Yeah.
like decent." You know? And as I got older, I just like my buddy Nico, he makes beats and we
Uh-huh.
really like we would just get on Discord, he would make beats and ask for
Nice.
my input and we would just talk for hours and then the beat would finally be done and we'd listen to it like 100 times, whatever, and then we call it a night. And it was
Yeah.
just like it was literally like 2 weeks of my life of my freshman year of college where
Uh,
we just did that every night on Discord, and it was such a powerful tool.
yeah, bro.
I totally need to revisit it, dude, because I have not like sat
Yeah,
down and wrote a
it's been a while for
song.
me too, so I don't blame you. I gotta finish recording my girl and the rest of that verse. I wrote a fire song called "Sad Movies," and
Yeah,
my girl can sing, and
wow,
I put her on the intro, but I gotta finish verse one, and I gotta rewrite it now because it's from her perspective and it's not mine anymore because I
yeah,
definitely can't sing. But bro, I'm telling you, what I will say and come out and not be like timid about is you put me in a room, honest to God, and this could be pure delusion, but you know Russ, delusion's fucking
yeah,
great.
right,
It You put me in a room with anybody who's like vocally talented, and I would be a huge asset in the studio, bro. I'd be a massive asset. I'm telling you. I like
right,
the art of writing a song. I respect my ability and am confident in my ability when it comes to all that. I don't got the voice and
beautiful,
shouldn't be on the track. That's for sure. I just don't got it. But what I could put a pen to paper, I respect myself and put myself up there as this was my baseball count. You know what I mean?
wow,
Like that's how I feel.
wow,
I'll
dude,
tell you that right now. And I always tell my buddies that I'm like, bro, I feel like I'm slick with this shit.
right,
It's because it's so many years. It's like seriously years of just like sitting and writing and like
right,
being on. Bro, I'd be surprised. I've been in some rooms with some people who just they don't got it. They can't be on beat. They can't write something on beat. It's something that they just don't have, and they
right,
have the passion. And I fully like encourage that regardless. But I'm just saying that in itself is an art, like writing something on beat. You know?
right, dude. That
No
takes
joke.
talent, dude.
Yeah, it's no joke.
It really
It made
does.
me gain a whole new respect. All these people I used to be like, this motherfucker can't even sing. I don't talk like that about artists anymore. Cause it's like,
Right,
bro, to be talented at making music, and you go to these concerts where all these dudes play instruments and they learn instruments and they're disciplined with their instruments. Like it's a real thing. It's not just something that you just, oh, he's one hit wonder.
dude.
Like, no, bro. Like obviously that's
Exactly.
the case for some artists, but all these artists that are big, just talented, man. Give them their fucking flowers. What they're doing
Definitely, dude.
is real. It's their heart out there. You know what I mean? They're putting all their shit out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude, for people, I always say for people who don't like rock music
Yeah.
or even country, like
Mm-hmm.
bluegrass, even,
Mm-hmm.
you go to
For
see
sure.
it live, man, and
Dude.
it'll change your whole perspective. Like I always in the past, I was like, I don't like country, dude. I don't like
Yep.
country.
I was the
You
same
know,
way.
and then I went to see my grandma. She did like a bluegrass concert. Like it
Uh-huh.
was literally small. Like my great aunt was up there, my grandpa,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of their friends. They were all singing and in the
Uh-huh.
garage, dude.
Yeah.
They're all
That's
old and
awesome.
dude, it literally was just so powerful. And I was like, holy shit, this music means so much. Everyone's working
Uh-huh.
together and like,
Yep.
dude. Or I saw Tool live and I was just like, oh, this is the
Nice.
greatest. Like this is the greatest feeling. Just
Uh-huh.
getting to see people perform and like they, like, dude. If you haven't listened to Tool, like
Yeah, I don't
pull
know
up,
who that is.
dude. Oh my gosh, they're like the greatest rock band I
Yeah.
swear I've ever heard.
You
But
gotta send me some stuff for sure.
I
I
will,
think
dude.
I owe Kentucky that, man, because that was around the time where I was starting to write, but like Kentucky, I didn't like country at all either. And then I started writing and then I started fucking with a little bit of country. I don't listen to it heavy, but I'll tell
Yeah,
you what, I fucking will come out and say die on my shield. I love George Strait, bro. That guy, that motherfucker is he's real. And this coming from a Dominican kid who
right.
will die by Bad Bunny and all the shit that Reggaeton talks about, which is all surface level stuff for the most part compared to George Strait. Like that motherfucker was a storyteller. That dude's he's hard. He's
Yeah,
hard.
crazy, dude. And it's so I don't know. It's cool to see because you're totally right, dude. There are people there like me, dude. Like there's white people literally grew up the same way I grew up,
Mm,
but they just reject like other
mm, yep.
cultural music.
Yep.
And I don't know at what point for me it like became so prevalent, but dude, in this last like 2 years,
Yeah.
I would say I literally I frequent Latin music, and then my boy Keshav, who's on the last podcast, he put me on Indian music, and I
Okay.
swear, dude, I've never like Indian music is so good. Latin music
I
has always
bet.
been around growing
I
up,
bet,
but
bro.
holy shit, dude, Indian
Mm.
music kind of like changed my life a little. I'll send you
I'm down.
some songs he
Dude,
sent me,
definitely do.
dude.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I was
Definitely.
impressed, and it's like obviously like I don't know what they're saying, but
Yeah.
like if you look into the words, it's just it's so
Mm.
good, and
Yeah.
it's very like it's a very intimate genre of music, is what I
Nice.
realized. At least Southern Indian is what he was saying. Southern
Uh,
Indian has like a certain sound in comparison to the north side,
mm.
but
Yeah.
dude, yeah, I love different cultures and just like being as well versed and understanding of different cultures is
Mm.
so important, dude.
As
So
far as your
important.
Bad Bunny knowledge, like what kind of Bad Bunny do you like? Are you the guy who's like, oh, I like Titi Me Preguntó, like I just like the
No,
mainstream, or like do you have any deep cuts? Because I'm telling you, he's got some. For the most part, Monaco, Titi Me Preguntó, Si Veo Tu Mamá, like he's got those hits that become very Americanized and like
right.
white people really like, and it's like when they tell me like, oh, I love Monaco, or like I love Titi Me Preguntó, it's like, cool, yeah, that's cool that you fuck with Bad Bunny. I appreciate that. But it's the
Right.
white people who are like, bro, have you heard Un Ratito? Have you? I love Moscow Mule. Like people who say
Yeah,
those songs. That's when I'm
dude.
like, okay, you get it.
So that whole album, top to bottom, got me through
You
my
talk about
last
Un
break.
Verano Sin Ti?
Yeah,
Yeah, with
that
the
whole album
sun
got
and the
got me
heart,
through my whole last breakup.
dude.
I
Yeah,
swear to God. And then his newest album, that is the album I ran my half marathon to. Is the
nice.
first, and dude, I just remember like hearing because I like to listen to albums top to bottom and just like pick the songs I fuck with. But if you go back even to the album, the black album
With
cover
the
with the
eyeball. Woo!
yeah, dude, that whole album is
100%, or por siempre. That's what it's
is
called.
that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah,
forever. It's
that
called Forever.
album. Oh, dude, it's so good. He has one. It's like it's Tenemos que hablar, and that
Uh
song, dude, that song legit is like one
huh.
of my
Da
favorite.
da da da
Yeah,
da.
yeah, and he has a. There was one that popped up on my. It was like my you know how you have the Spotify radio or
Uh,
whatever. I want to say it was Vete was the song name. That one I've
you
never
said
heard before.
Vete?
Yeah, but that one was really
Dude,
good.
Vete goes crazy. He pours his heart out on that one, boy.
Yeah.
Woo! He pours his heart out on that one. That is one of his like that you just scream at the top of your lungs, like just like yeah. I mean that album came out after my breakup, so that was
100%.
the album that helped me. Un Verano Sin Ti, I was already like single, loving life. I would have
Right.
related to some of the songs on there more had I was going if I was going through heartbreak,
Yep.
but I wasn't at the time, so I really like the hype ones on that one.
Yeah, and then that got like Falling Back Bunny got me into Grupo Frontera,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
they're
you also
fire.
have, dude, they're so good. They have
Yeah.
one called Angel, which
Uh-huh.
my homie put me on, and she was like, if you like Bad Bunny, you love
Yeah.
this song, and it was true. And then
And
I went down
Mexicans,
that road.
man, they're
Yeah,
stepping up. They're stepping
dude,
up now in the music world. They're not only they're creating their own lanes now. They're not only like the ranchero cowboy music anymore. Like
yeah,
they're starting to because reggaeton's influence now. You're starting to have Mexicans really branch out away from that. Still have the roots of that, but not just continue to add to that old 80s, 90s ranchero like Mexican cowboy stuff. They're starting now
right.
to do their own thing. You know.
Yeah, and you put me on just through like your story on Instagram. You put me on Young Miko.
No,
Didn't
she's
give,
something
dude.
else.
She's a beast. That new
Yeah,
album of hers is fire.
yeah, dude,
The
top to bottom.
Marias,
Yeah,
dude.
the
I
Marias.
love
Woo!
the Marias. Top, dude. Every album they have is just a
Yeah,
fucking banger,
the
dude.
Marias are great too. Yeah,
Dude, it's fucking nuts. And then
dude,
you have
you know, you
yeah,
gotta listen to Kuko.
Kuko.
Dude, Kuko, I'm telling you, thank God you haven't heard of him. Write
Okay,
down Kuko. I'm telling you, I'm gonna send
write
you
it
so
down.
much
Dude.
shit after this phone call right now, bro.
Do it, dude.
Dude, you're gonna love Kuko. He's Mexican. He does like Mexican like heavy synth, like bedroom pop type. Dude, his sound he's like the Marias, but like obviously a male and like
Right.
uh also different in his own way. More Mexican influences than
Okay.
the Marias. Because I don't know where the lead singer of the Marias from. I don't know what she is.
I think
But
she's Puerto Rican.
I don't
I,
know. That's a good
is she?
question. I need to look it up. I have no clue. But Kuko you'll love, bro. He's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And he's on like a cool journey right now. He was like heavily into like he kind of made the metamorphosis that Chance the Rapper did, where like early on he was doing a lot of drugs, and then now he's like completely sober,
Wow.
but still making fantastic music. And so now he like really promotes like taking care of yourself and like so he did lose some like fans who were like into that stuff and like acid and all that crazy stuff when he was younger and making terrible
Right.
decisions, but now he's on like a whole different wave and it's still amazing and
Wow.
cool to see, if you attach to artists like that. I don't know if you do,
Definitely. Oh,
but
absolutely. Like one artist that I've attached to his journey like so heavily, it was Logic.
oh
Just
yeah,
like,
Logic's a guy.
dude, fucking love Logic. I've read all
Yeah,
of his books, like
yeah, he's a guy.
everything, like so
Crazy
good,
he
dude.
gets
And
any hate. Isn't that so crazy?
dude, nuts. And
Dude,
it's
isn't that
just
so crazy?
it's kind of like annoying, dude, because like nobody and I will say like his music has evolved so fucking much
Mm-hmm.
in the last 4 years, really. It's like
Mm-hmm.
ever since he broke his deal, but it was all always good,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the type of shit that I really gravitate towards. It's like even Russ gets like
Mm-hmm.
hella hate, and it's that type of like misunderstanding. When someone misunderstands someone, I almost always want to take the other person's side just so
Why? Because you
I
want to know why. What is the reason?
exactly
You know what I mean?
exactly. And then you do more research and you're like, there is no reason. It's just like
Exactly.
people fucking hate to
Yeah,
hate.
it's just mainstream, man. Like Kevin Hart said this in an interview, and I'll never forget it. It's like it's just cool to hate stuff. Like
Right.
it's the same reason why Drake gets hate. It's like same reason why Taylor Swift gets hate. It's like
Yeah.
it's cool to hate the biggest guys in the game. Sadly, I don't think it
Yeah.
is. I'm just saying that's what mainstream media thinks is it's cool to hate people who are doing it at a high level. Like
Right.
imagine hating greatness. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. It like doesn't I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And I
Yeah.
definitely felt when I was in high school, I had that mentality of like,
Yeah.
oh
Oh, for
fuck
sure. When
Drake.
I was a
He's
kid,
like,
for sure.
like everyone was like gravitating towards Drake, and I was like, "Fuck Drake, dude! Like, I'll go
Yeah.
listen to Tech Nine, whatever."
Uh-huh.
And it was just like,
Like
and like,
Drake can exist too, man. You know what I mean?
bro,
Like Drake
right?
could be great too.
Yeah, and once
You
I
know?
came to that realization, I was like, "Holy shit, I've missed out." Like mainstream shit is mainstream because it's like it's typically pretty good,
Exactly.
and that's okay. Like it's
Exactly.
okay to like all the things that other people like,
Uh-huh.
and it's okay to also dislike the things that people like. There's like just be
100%.
you, like
Mm-hmm.
just be you, dude. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that
Dude, I
I
wish I
really
wish I
can.
can I'm when I come to AZ, I'm gonna take you on a journey through Bad Bunny's latest album, bro, because that's one of my favorite things to do. That's when me and my boy G have bonded so much, is when I break down all the lyrics in the English for him,
Yeah,
because a big thing is people don't realize, they think he's like Bad Bunny's like a pop artist, especially after like Un Verano Sin Ti, and they don't realize that motherfucker got bars.
dude.
Bars.
If
I'm
you
talking,
listen
he's
to
the
his new
biggest
one,
artist internationally, possibly ever, of this new generation thus far. Obviously, when I
crazy,
die, there's gonna be more people. You know what I mean? When I'm older, maybe my kids are gonna have a Bad Bunny. But like, dude, what he's been able to do with Spanish music and how he's been able to make it mainstream and the way he does it. Like, for the example, the Blue album with the kid riding the bike.
yeah,
It's called Yo hago lo que me da la gana. Yo hago lo que me da la gana means I do whatever the fuck I want, right? That's what
yeah,
the album
nuts,
is called. And the way he displays it is not like this rock star type, like Lil Uzi type of persona. He explains it as like, people are going to talk, they're going to say whatever they want. Just do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
right?
And that's why he dresses the way he dresses. I take a lot of inspiration in that, because
Dude,
I be
I was
wearing
gonna
whatever I
fucking
want.
ask you about
Yeah.
that, dude. Because I can tell, like on
Yeah.
Instagram and shit, like, dude, your style is nuts. Like, you
Yeah. I
got
appreciate
great
that.
style,
I
and
appreciate
it's
that.
just like you can totally tell it's a little bit like inspired.
Dude, I
But
appreciate that, and he got me there. Like, I got a earring. That was a big thing for me. Just having one big hoop, right? All these ideologies of that I dealt with were like, oh, almost like gay. Like, I have a lot of my dad's friends in Florida, like, would ask him like, is your son gay? Like, he's on some weird shit. My older brother is like anti Bad Bunny because he thinks Bad Bunny's gay, and he's like spreading gay fucking rhetoric and all this crazy shit. My brother's, he's in his own world. But and I think about that, and Bad Bunny said in an interview, it's one of my favorite quotes he has. He says, I don't wear female clothes. I don't wear male clothes. I just wear clothes you're not you wouldn't dare to try and wear. I just wear
mm,
shit you wouldn't dare to wear. And when I
yeah, I
heard that,
love
I
that.
was like, that's what it's about, bro. Like, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear. It does not matter what section I pull that shit from. It does not matter the size, whatever the fuck. Like, I'm gonna wear something that I grab off the rack and think is dope.
Right,
I don't need to think in a box. Why? Because I do whatever the fuck I want. Yo hago lo que me da la gana. I do whatever I
wow,
want. And that's why I love Bad Bunny. That album, the blue one with him on the bike and the third eye,
yeah,
that's when I was like, dude, this guy, he's dope. And that's what all his shit is. It's all about just like, I do whatever I want. And obviously, he has those braggadocious songs that can be considered surface level for sure. But obviously, he's the biggest artist in the world. He's gonna brag in your face. That's one thing I love about Russ.
right,
I talk to a lot
dude.
of people. Dude, that's what I
Fucking
love
love
about
this
Russ,
about
bro.
Russ,
I'm
dude.
telling you, I would rather deal with somebody who's arrogant than somebody who has no confidence in themselves, because one can be one you can handle, and Russ's journey is crazy. I could sit here and talk about it a whole other hour about Russ,
Dude,
because
to literally like obviously he's not the most famous art, not the most
exactly.
successful, but dude, to come out and just be like, I have fuck you money, and
Yeah.
like he's like, I'll do whatever I want, I'll do it
Uh-huh.
by myself too. It's
Uh-huh.
just like, it's so powerful. And I love his message of just like
Yes.
he's like, I didn't let anyone else have creative control. Like this is just me.
Uh-huh.
And like, oh dude, it's such a powerful thing to hear. It's just like, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
know. It instills like that sense of independence in you. It's
Exactly.
just
And
so
how is
good.
that, like, for someone to hear that and hate that? That tells me all I need to know about you. Honestly, if you really think about that, for someone to look at somebody, an artist that is telling you to do it yourself, or you don't need nobody else, just go out and get it, and for that to piss you off, that tells me all I need to know about you. Honest to God,
Dude,
like, you're just showing already what, because that should just light a fire in your ass and be like, okay, yeah, damn right. You know what I
right.
mean? That's the only way that should be received. It blows my mind that it
Exactly.
gets received any other way. Russ's latest album, bro. I don't know how much you dove into
Dude, I
Santiago.
top to bottom.
Dude, I Love You Boy changed me. And what I love about Russ's journey, bro, is that this time we're in now, where he's now calling out the insecurities of his past self that we saw in interviews, that we saw hated by everybody. Like he's calling out all those insecurities of like, dude, I was just putting on a facade. Really, I was so insecure that I replaced the rap game. I replaced my dad with the rap game, like all that stuff. Like seeing him own up to all that stuff I mean, that's awesome, bro. It's been my
Dude.
favorite part of this journey. He's like, because I've always thought like, yeah, he's kind of arrogant the way he comes off, you know, but how he's able to look back at it now and be like, yeah, this is what I was, this is what I was going through, and acknowledge that and display that through music. So dope, bro.
Oh,
I Love You
so
Boy
good.
is so crazy. That song.
He just dropped a music video today. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I saw that. I
Yeah,
saw that.
dude.
Like 6 minutes
That
long.
whole album, dude, is just incredible. And it's so funny, dude. Like as he evolves as a person, as he understands, like, okay, back then I wasn't secure, these were insecure actions, whatever.
Mhm.
It gives all of his music, like if you ran back, There's Really a Wolf, if you went back to Colorblind, all those albums, it gives those albums way more meaning. And dude, like it's so, I don't know, it's such a powerful thing because like nobody wants a stagnant person of power.
Exactly.
Like, and especially in a business, it's like everyone gravitates towards a CEO who is like constantly developing, constantly learning. And I think it should be the same for, people of the industry. And that's why I think Drake's so dope, because he's like, he's going into drill. He has tracks with Bad Bunny.
He can do it all.
He do it all. And it's just like, that's probably not easy for him. He probably has to sit down like and understand the craft and like really put it together. And obviously he's been doing it so long, so it might come easier. But the actual action of just like doing something different, like, dude, I guarantee you, if you go into his vault, it's probably hit after hit. But to like still diversify your sound and like try and be different. And like Bad Bunny's music's all fucking different too. It's so fucking good. And like any artist who like you can track from album one to where they are now, and you see the evolution, it's like, those are my favorite artists,
100%,
without a doubt.
100%. Yeah, you got to send me that some of that Indian music, and then send me that rock band you were talking about.
I got you, dude. That one is my mom's favorite band, Tool.
For sure.
And
definitely.
dude, when they did their performance, so I went and saw them live.
Well, where'd you see them at?
Saw them at the Footprint Center. So they sold out the Footprint Center, dude.
Is that the Suns?
Yeah, it's the Suns. But the lead singer, he lives in Cottonwood, Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Dude, he has a vineyard up there. He's just an incredible dude. Like if you walk into a bar in Cottonwood, they're playing Tool. Like they're all playing Tool. He's the guy, dude. Yeah. So I remember we went to the concert, and dude, my uncle, like that's his favorite band. I was with him and my mom, obviously. But at the intermission, so they like step off stage, the drummer stays. And you just see the drummer with this big ass like synth box like behind him, and he's literally playing with it for like 9 minutes, just making dope sounds. And it's like he's literally freestyling, but like on the beat. And then he goes to the drums after, and he like cranks out like a crazy solo, and then he segues it into the next song that they play. And it's just like, dude, the whole time I saw that, I was like, this is a next level artistry that like, it's just, I can't even fathom being that good at something. It's nuts. But dude, yeah, when people say
when
that,
I come down, man, I'll definitely hit you up for sure. We definitely got a link. I don't drink much. I have no problem drinking, but I'm saying why I preface that is I don't know if you do. I don't drink much, but I'd love to sit down and have a drink with you, bro. Like just chill. That'd be a good vibe. That definitely lead to opening up all the other stuff. It's been so long catching up. I have so many memories, bro. I have a memory of you dude. I'll never forget. I know we weren't in Tucson. I want to say we were in like Sierra Vista or like Rio Rico or something. But I have a vivid memory of you getting stung by a bee, right? You got stung by a
Dude,
bee,
I do
and you were
remember this.
crying, and you came up to the fence. I was like, "What happened, dude?" And you're like, "Dude, I got stung by a bee, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Here, I'm gonna get a hit for you." He's like, "Is that cool? Would that make you feel better?" And you looked at me all sad, tears in your eyes, and you were like, "Yeah, I appreciate that. Like that made me feel better." I said, "I got you." And I gave you daps. Very next AB slapped the base hit over the shortstop's head. I'll never forget little shit like that, bro. That stuff stays in my mind, bro. I'll never
No,
forget stuff like that.
it's so funny, dude. I literally told that story the other day. Like that was
Yeah.
the one and only time I was stung by a bee. And like, and I don't know if you remember, but some girl like fell off the cliff behind us.
Yes,
Dude, that was the
yes,
same day. That's
yes,
crazy.
dude. Yeah,
But
it was like Rio Rico or something, right? Where were
definitely,
we?
yeah,
Something
I
like
think
that.
it was something,
It
dude. It
was
was
one of those
definitely,
tournaments.
yeah. But
Yeah, I'll never forget that
dude,
shit.
I remember that. I remember you guys were in a game, and me and your sister, dude, for some reason we had to go to your dad's car, and like she needed to grab a water bottle or like
Uh-huh.
an umbrella or something. And then she was like, "Yo, my dad, he farted so bad when we got here. Like it smells like shit, dude." And she opened the door, bro, and it literally smelled like shit. Like, dude,
Hey, that's that colon cancer. I'll tell you. My dad used to have some crazy farts.
bro, it was so
That's
funny. I
crazy.
just
You remember that of all things.
Dude, because she was like, "Smell his seat," and I was like, "No, I smell it." I was like, I'm good." Like, it was so
Oh my
funny.
god.
Or like one time there was it started raining at one of your guys' practices like so hard, dude. Like ridiculously hard to where it literally like was hurting when it hit our skin. So I just remember your dad was like running. He's like, "Francis, like get to the car," and your dad like hides in the porta potty until it's slowed down, dude.
Oh
I
my
was-
god.
I remember that so well.
Oh shit. Yeah, dude, we gotta get Joan. I don't know if Jonan drinks or anything, or if Aiden does, but I'd love to just sit down and have a beer. And I don't get, like I said, I don't be getting like hammered or nothing. Just a couple
Right?
beers. That'd be a good time, man. Just catching
Let's
up
do
with
it.
y'all. That'd be great. Are you talking to Aiden? Are you guys like fighting to the point to where y'all aren't communicating? Or
Like it's not like we're fighting, dude, but it is a sense of like I think this is just an important time in both of our lives,
yeah.
and we kind of I don't know, like I'm gonna do my thing and he's gonna do his thing, and I
Uh,
hope I hope we can meet up soon
yeah.
and squash it and
Yeah.
get through it together and just talk through it. I
Brothers,
tried to
man.
talk I tried to talk through it like early, and I think it may have been too early.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of letting it sit. Like when he's ready,
100%.
he'll come to me, and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. If I feel like it's time or like it's been too long, like I want to reach out
Yeah.
and just squash it because I don't know, dude. He's been so important in my life, and
Yeah.
obviously, like I'm a product of the people around me. And Aiden did such a good job at like
Sounds
always
like it.
being
Yeah.
that older brother figure and having all of you guys around, and it really shaped me to who I was or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, who I am now.
And yeah.
And yeah, so Jonan too, especially. It's
Yeah.
like
Jonah's the
Jonan,
man. I
the
got
man,
nothing
dude.
bad to say about Jonah, that's for sure.
Dude, he's incredible. I
Yeah.
still like call him all the time or text him
Yeah.
all the time, and we chop it up. And I was with him last time I was in town, and we got to just sit down and talk for like 3 hours. And
Yeah.
I don't know, dude, it's just powerful. It's
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It's
It is,
important.
man. You've shown me that. You really have. This has been amazing. Honestly, I'm so glad you asked me to do this. It was an amazing conversation. I can't remember the last time I just sat and talked to somebody for fucking almost 2.5 hours, just sitting there talking, no distractions about anything, no notifications, nothing.
It's
Seriously,
beautiful, dude.
it's crazy.
It's beautiful, bro. Is there anything you have, dude?
No,
Like
I mean
anything?
nothing that we can't save, you know?
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, dude. We'll
yeah,
when you get to Tucson or come
for
down to
sure.
Arizona, or I'll shoot up. We'll
Yeah.
make something happen, dude.
Dude,
And we'll
I'm serious about you coming down, man. If you ever, I know you're a busy guy, but just know you got a place to stay. I'd make a weekend out of it or more, and we'd have things to do, man. It'd be a good time. You're 21, right?
yeah, 21.
Okay. Yeah, dude. I mean, it'd be a great time, bro.
Let's do it, dude.
Yeah.
I'll start planning it,
Let me
dude.
know. We'll
I'll
stay in
send you
touch.
some dates.
Yeah. If something
Let's do
comes
it.
up, hey, man, got a weekend free. If not, obviously no big deal. Life happens. But I can let you know that I will be down there this coming summer for sure. It's just a
Okay.
matter of Nick's wedding that kind of tied me up. But
Right.
I will be down there for sure. But if something comes up before, man, like I said, it's only about 11-hour drive. you can find a way to make it out here or fly out here, whatever, I'll make time.
Let's do it.
And it'll be a good little thing. You'll have a blast.
We'll do it, man.
Denver's a great city. I don't know if you've ever been out here, but
I've been once, dude. I remember the Elevation Fucked Our Family up so bad. We ended up just napping for. Dude, I swear, we went out for vacation, dude. And this is like weirdly one of like my favorite memories as a family, because my dad traveled so much for work, so he like wasn't trying to go on vacation really. And I just remember he like one day he's just like, tomorrow we're all going to Denver, and we're gonna spend the weekend out there. It's gonna be fun. We flew into Denver airport, dude. My mom is like, I'm so tired. Like, let's just go to the hotel and nap. Dude,
it's no joke.
We landed, slept, we woke up, got breakfast, and we all went back to the hotel and napped again, dude. God, dude. And Saturday night came, we got dinner, we called it a night, went to bed, woke up, we spent Sunday, which is good, and then we flew out Sunday night. But it was so funny.
Yeah.
It's like
there's a lot of stuff to do out here, man. Definitely a lot of cool stuff we can do.
So let's do it, bro. But,
for sure. We'll be in touch. For sure.
We will, dude. So before I wrap this up, dude, I need you to stay on because it has to like download. But
okay, no worries.
This has been BNF episode 6. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you learned something about yourself in the process.
Yes, sir.